Chapter 1525. Your Zhao Feng. Bai Minghui was at first confused, but then he grimaced. He had never imagined that Zhao Feng would return to the spiritual race with Zhao Yufei. After all, many great powers of the ancient desolate realm of gods, including the heaven-defying faction, were eyeing Zhao Feng's ninth god eye, but Zhao Feng had actually appeared and even returned to the spiritual race. Zhao Feng. The four Enforcer Elders also grimaced. They were newly promoted Enforcer Elders of the spiritual race, but in reality, they were not members of the spiritual race, but members of the heaven-defying faction. They were naturally well aware of Zhao Feng's exploits. In the distance, the spectators of the spiritual race were also stunned, including Ancient God Ice Origin. How could it be him? Ancient God Ice Origin's body trembled. Back then, he had already made up his mind to never provoke Zhao Feng again. But when Zhao Feng returned to the spiritual race, he had almost offended Zhao Feng. Moreover, Zhao Feng had just said that he had let Bai Minghui escape last time. Bai Minghui, who was secretly supporting the Grand Elder, was a third heaven god lord. It was hard to imagine that Bai Minghui had fought with Zhao Feng before and had even fled in defeat. Swish! Zhao Feng extended a palm, condensing a primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. With a light slash, he unleashed a bolt of primal chaos tribulation lightning energy. In the distance, the Grand Elder, who was fighting with Zhao Yufei, sensed this powerful attack and immediately dodged. But a space-time intent descended on his body, causing his speed and thoughts to slow down. Crystal Spirit Water. The Grand Elder had no choice but to use a secret bloodline art of the spiritual race, transforming his body into a transparent crystal. Kakrak. Zhao Feng's primal chaos tribulation lightning energy struck the Grand Elder and cut through his body, but a moment later, the massive wound on his body rapidly healed. By using a secret bloodline art of the spiritual race, the Grand Elder managed to avoid this lethal attack. Even so, the spirit race's secret technique could not completely nullify the power of this attack. A trickle of blood leaked from the corner of the Grand Elder's mouth, and his face paled slightly. In this way, the pressure on Zhao Yufei lessened. She was able to confront the first Elder head-on and even had the upper hand. Seeing that casual attack from Zhao Feng, Bai Minghui could already feel that Zhao Feng was way more powerful than before. "Everyone, come over here," Bai Minghui yelled. Right now, he was the only god messenger left in the spirit race. Bai Minghui knew that he was no longer an opponent for Zhao Feng, but he could not leave easily. Otherwise, he would fail the mission, and he would be severely punished. Furthermore, the entire spirit tribe was currently under his control. He had the advantage in numbers, so it was not impossible for him to win. Whoosh! Whoosh! Black figures with shocking auras came to Bai Minghui's side from all around the spirit race. There was a palace king, several first heaven god lords, and some elite ancient gods beneath the god lord realm. Many of the spirit tribe members nearby were extremely shocked. No one had expected the spirit tribe to have so many hidden experts. Boom! Bang! Crash! The Grand Elder activated his bloodline divine power and unleashed a powerful attack that temporarily pushed back Zhao Yufei. At the same time, he and the four Enforcement Elders flew to Bai Minghui's side. Previously, their plan was to take control of the spiritual race and capture Zhao Yufei. But now, dealing with Zhao Feng was the most important thing. Zhao Feng, even if you're far stronger than me, I have so many people right now. You can't do anything to me. Bai Minghui faintly smiled. In addition, when Zhao Feng revealed his true face, he had already sent a message. As long as he could delay Zhao Feng for a while, once reinforcements from the heaven-defying faction arrived, Zhao Feng would be doomed. You managed to escape last time, but this time you're doomed. Zhao Feng's eyes focused. Last time, the heaven-defying faction had not only dispatched many divine emissaries, but even its protector had personally taken action to force Zhao Feng's group into desperate straits. He would definitely take revenge, starting with Bai Minghui. Arrogant brat! Bai Minghui angrily roared. In the spiritual race, Zhao Feng had repeatedly emphasized that his defeat to Zhao Feng had utterly humiliated him. Swish, swish, swish. Everyone around Baiming Hui began to move. The enemy forces were led by Baiming Hui, the Grand Elder, and a Palace King. The other god lords and top-class ancient gods stood in the rear to provide support and interference. I'll use you people to test out the primal chaos domain. Zhao Feng had an excited look on his face. Buzz. BZZ. Vast amounts of primal chaos energy erupted from Zhao Feng's body and fused into the surrounding space. A moment later, everything for hundreds of thousands of li around them turned dark and gloomy. Everything in the world began to disappear, transforming into streams of primal chaos energy that wreaked havoc. In a flash, the primal chaos domain had taken shape. Within this domain, Baiming Hui and the others felt like their connection to the world had been severed and their strength was weakened. At the same time, when they released divine power, the primal chaos energy around them would devour and absorb it. At the same time, they had to do all they could to dodge the streams of primal chaos energy, wreaking havoc in the primal chaos domain. A rank 9 ancient god had no time to dodge and was struck by a stream of primal chaos energy, his soul extinguished. At Zhao Feng's level, any danger in the primal chaos domain could easily obliterate anyone below the god lord level. These various factors made many of Baiming Hui's people feel fear even before the battle had begun. Focus on defense. Break out of this place. Baiming Hui grimaced and immediately called out. He could sense just how powerful this primal chaos domain was. If they didn't leave, no matter how many people they had, they wouldn't be able to do much. All of you will die here. Zhao Feng roared, taking control of the primal chaos domain. In a flash, the primal chaos domain was thrown into chaos, the chaotic primal chaos energy rampaging through the area. Defend! Baiming Hui roared as he thrust out his palms, scattering the streams of primal chaos energy. But he couldn't take care of everyone. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye could see everything. The moment there was a gap, the danger of the primal chaos domain would use it to kill the enemy. Screams filled the air as members below the god lord level died one after another. It didn't take long before all the members below the god lord level were dead. Now it's the god lords. Zhao Feng's cold laughter echoed through the primal chaos domain. Even more powerful streams of primal chaos energy began to crash into the primal chaos domain. At the same time, Zhao Feng himself began to move out. Boom! Bang! Crash! Baiming Hui's group continued to destroy the dangers around them as they tried to break out. At this moment, a figure appeared behind them. Zhao Feng. Baiming Hui's face was gloomy as he gnashed his teeth. Swish! He took out the ancestral artifact fragment and unleashed a wave of primal chaos energy that slashed forward with immense power. But within the primal chaos domain, primal chaos energy surged forward, blocking the attack and weakening its power. At the same time, Zhao Feng pushed the space-time law to the limit of this attack and get close to Baiming Hui's group. Hurry and attack! The Grand Elder immediately shouted. He had just experienced Zhao Feng's strength for himself. Ordinary second heaven god lords would only be able to be slaughtered. Kaboom! The rest of the members immediately acted, and attacks filled the sky as they whizzed forward. With a thought, Zhao Feng took control of the primal chaos domain. Streams of primal chaos energy immediately began to revolve around his body. Boom! Bang! Crash! All the attacks that got close to Zhao Feng were stopped by these streams of primal chaos energy. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Feng had reached the Grand Elder's group. He swung the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword and slashed forward. Cackrack! A first heaven god lord was cleaved in two by Zhao Feng, and he couldn't be more dead. In the primal chaos domain, all enemies were suppressed to a certain extent, but Zhao Feng was actually greatly strengthened. After killing this person, Zhao Feng moved to the other side and slashed out with the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. Zhao Feng, stop! Bai Minghui hurriedly called out as he joined the Grand Elder and the other Palace King in attacking. The Palace King and Grand Elder didn't even dare to approach Zhao Feng alone, so the three of them worked together. But in the primal chaos domain, they were suppressed in every aspect and couldn't even touch Zhao Feng's figure. Zhao Feng ignored the encirclement of the three and slaughtered to his heart's content. First Heaven God Lords were like ants, easily crushed by Zhao Feng. A little while later, only Bai Minghui, the Grand Elder, and the Palace King were left. But they had already lost all hope. Zhao Feng, stop. Spare our lives. It's not too late for you to leave now. Bai Minghui took the initiative to show weakness. He could tell that Zhao Feng had not used his full strength, and many of his helpers had yet to appear. The three of them had no chance of victory. Bai Minghui did not directly say anything. Instead, he hinted that experts from the heaven-defying faction had come and advised Zhao Feng to leave as soon as possible. Many thanks for your warning. I'll immediately finish off the three of you. Zhao Feng sneered. Within the primal chaos domain, he was like a god in the darkness, exuding an invisible pressure and fear. Buzz. BZZ. The entire primal chaos domain surged and began to contract. But as the primal chaos domain shrank, its power became even more concentrated. Primal chaos lock. Zhao Feng brought his hands together and used another combat skill. At this moment, he was using all the divine power in the primal chaos domain to use the primal chaos lock. Buzz. BZZZ. The gloomy space in the air gradually receded, forming three chaotic black spheres. These spheres contained Bai Minghui, a Palace King, and the Grand Elder. Don't even think of trapping me. Bai Minghui roared, activating his bloodline and ancestral artifact fragment to unleash a peerless amount of energy that bombarded the primal chaos lock. Zhao Feng did not care much about Bai Minghui's resistance. After all, he was using three primal chaos locks at the same time. Because he was distracted, the power of each lock was not very strong. Even so, the Palace King and Grand Elder were powerless to resist. Bang! The chaos spheres on both sides abruptly shrunk into a ball and exploded. The heaven-defying faction's Palace King and Grand Elder had fallen. When Zhao Feng had observed the Grand Elder, he had discovered that the Grand Elder had been transformed into a Death God Guard by the heaven-defying faction and was completely under their control. The Death God Guard's Grand Elder was just a tool to control the spirit race, so Zhao Feng had not hesitated to kill him. Now, the only enemy left was Bai Minghui. In the distance, the upper echelons of the spirit race were dumbstruck by this scene, unable to speak. The powerful group, led by Bai Minghui and the Grand Elder, had been destroyed by Zhao Feng alone. Boom! Bang! Crash! The black sphere that Bai Minghui was in suddenly expanded and shattered. Bai Minghui charged out, angrily glaring at Zhao Feng, but there was nothing he could do. Swish! Bai Minghui immediately turned and fled. The current Zhao Feng was much stronger than before. Now that he was the only one left, staying here would only mean death. Chapter 1526. Uish. Bai Minghui immediately turned and fled. Zhao Feng was far stronger than he had been in the past. Now that he was the only one left, staying here would only mean death. I already said that you will die without a doubt this time. Zhao Feng focused his left eye on Bai Minghui and circulated his primal chaos energy and tribulation lightning energy. Uish. Suddenly, a dark bolt of lightning shot out of Zhao Feng's left eye, piercing through the world and striking Bai Minghui. Ah! Bai Minghui screamed as his body froze. The moment the primal chaos lightning sword struck him, boundless primal chaos and tribulation lightning energy surged into his body, harming his soul. Both his primal chaos energy and tribulation lightning energy had reached a whole new level compared to 6 years ago. After being hit by that attack, Bai Minghui groaned in pain, but he didn't have much time to catch his breath. Not good. Bai Minghui paled as he sensed danger approaching, and he suddenly turned around. Zhao Feng was already closing in, slashing down with the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. In a hurry, Bai Minghui released a vast amount of primal chaos energy, which formed a wall of primal chaos energy. Bang! However, that thick wall of primal chaos energy was sliced in half like tofu by Zhao Feng's primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. This sword slashed into Bai Minghui's chest, leaving a large gash. Bai Minghui's body was blown backward as he puked out a couple of mouthfuls of blood. Swish! Before he could stand up, a Chaos Thunder Tribulation sword flew over and pierced his chest. No, Zhao Feng. Bai Minghui raised a hand to beg for mercy. But how could Zhao Feng spare him? Uish! A second and third Primal Chaos Tribulation lightning sword formed in Zhao Feng's hand, and he threw them out. Bai Minghui could only use the power of his divine kingdom. The shadow of a massive divine nation suddenly descended and enveloped Bai Minghui. Uish! The Primal Chaos Tribulation lightning swords were greatly hindered after stabbing into the divine kingdom image, unable to advance any further. Explode! Zhao Feng narrowed his eyes and growled. Boom! Bang! The Chaos Thunder Disaster Sword that had stabbed into the divine nation's image and Bai Minghui's chest suddenly expanded and exploded. A terrible chaos divine power storm spread out and devoured the world. As the dust settled down, Bai Minghui's body was covered in wounds, and his aura was extremely weak. Die! Zhao Feng calmly said as another chaotic lightning sword shot out from his left eye. Boom! Right now, Bai Minghui had no power to resist at all. He was struck by the Chaos Thunder Sword, and a powerful energy poured out, destroying both his body and soul. Finally, Bai Minghui, who had captured Zhao Feng with one move, had been killed by Zhao Feng. The upper echelons of the Ling tribe stood rooted to the spot as if they had been petrified. They were all people who submitted to the Great Elder and chose to pledge allegiance to him. At this moment, the Grand Elder and the people who supported him had all been killed by Zhao Feng. The strength Zhao Feng had displayed was unimaginably powerful. Even if they tried to flee, it would be useless. Ancient God Ice Origin's entire body was powerless, and he collapsed to the ground as if he had lost his mind. The spiritual race's forbidden ground. Whoosh! Whoosh! Many people flew out. Zhao Feng recognized the Patriarch, the Second Elder, and the Third Elder. While Zhao Feng was fighting, Zhao Yufei had gone to the forbidden ground to rescue these imprisoned people. Patriarch, the traitors of the spiritual race immediately kneeled on the ground and begged for their lives. The Patriarch was indifferent to these people and paid them no attention. Zhao Feng, where are the Grand Elder and the others? The Patriarch asked. Since they were able to come out in the actions of the spiritual race traitors, he had already guessed that the Grand Elder and those mysterious experts had probably been pushed back by Zhao Feng. They're all dead, Zhao Feng flatly replied. These words caused the spiritual race members who had just come out to stiffen in disbelief. The Patriarch and the Second Elder had a deep understanding of the strength of the Grand Elder and the Heaven's Legacy race experts. The Heaven's Legacy race experts even had a third Heaven God Lord. And now, Zhao Feng was saying that these people were all dead? It's all thanks to you, Zhao Feng. The Second Elder didn't care if this was true or not, as he gratefully said. Fortunately, the spiritual race had promptly changed its attitude toward Zhao Feng. Otherwise, Zhao Feng would have never been able to rescue them. Master, what exactly happened? How did the spiritual race end up like this? Zhao Yufei immediately asked. If she and Zhao Feng hadn't returned, the spiritual race would have been destroyed. It's a long story. Some time ago, the experts of the Heaven's Legacy race suddenly descended and restrained the upper echelon members of the spiritual race, forcing us to submit. The Patriarch gave a simple explanation. The spiritual race was no match for the well-prepared Heaven's Legacy race and was completely subdued. Later on, under the threats and promises of the Heaven's Legacy race, the Grand Elder chose to submit. However, the Grand Elder was transformed by the Heaven's Legacy race into a Death God Guard, a toy in the hands of the Heaven's Legacy race. The Heaven-defying faction seems to have another goal in overthrowing the spiritual race. Zhao Feng began to think. He originally thought that the heaven-defying faction had overthrown the spiritual race to lay a trap for him to jump into. But if it really was a trap, they would have arranged for at least 3 divine emissaries or even protectors. In other words, the heaven-defying faction had another goal in overthrowing the spiritual race. Now isn't the time to talk about this. We should hurry and leave, Zhao Feng suddenly said. Bai Minghui had definitely sent word of his arrival to the heaven-defying faction. It wouldn't be long before a large number of troops arrived. Although Zhao Feng had gotten much stronger, he still didn't have much power to resist a protector. Leave? To where? The patriarch's face was filled with astonishment. The spiritual race had been established for a very long time, and the people of the spiritual race had a deep attachment to this place. Zhao Feng could tell that the patriarch did not want to move. But the situation was unique. The spiritual race had no choice but to move. But where should they go? At this moment, an ancient god flew out from the distant spiritual race group. Everyone's eyes were fixed on this person. For a traitor of the spiritual race to dare to run up to the spiritual race god, Lord, and Zhao Feng of his own accord left them rather confused. Friends of the spiritual race, I am a member of the Life Sacred Land. If you have nowhere else to go, you can go to the Sacred Land. When a man revealed his identity, everyone was shocked. They glanced at each other, all of them suspicious of this man's identity. Let's go to the Life Sacred Land, Zhao Feng said. Regardless of whether this man was a member of the Life Sacred Land or not, going to the Sacred Land was truly a good choice. Firstly, the spiritual race didn't seem to want to move. Since that was the case, they could ask the Sacred Land for help. Zhao Feng was confident that the heaven-defying faction's actions were the same as provoking the Life Sacred Land. The Sacred Land would not ignore them. Okay, let's go to the Sacred Land. The Patriarch agreed. The strongest expert of the Life Sacred Land was one of the 8 great god eyes and had the title of God. As a faction under the jurisdiction of the Sacred Land could not ignore such a major event. Zhao Feng and the spiritual race members hurried to the Life Sacred Land. As for the traitors who had betrayed the spiritual race, the Patriarch had placed special marks in their bodies and ordered them to temporarily guard the spiritual race. Half a month later, the group arrived at the Life Sacred Land. By the time they arrived, the array was already open. Please, a Sacred Land elder had been waiting for some time and led the group into the spiritual race. Elder, the Patriarch prepared to state his purpose for coming. The Life God invites you. Everyone just follow me. The Sacred Land elder amiably smiled. What? A god? The Patriarch, second elder, and the others were stunned, and even Zhao Feng was surprised. They hadn't expected the Life God to summon them this time. The Life God probably already found something. Otherwise, she wouldn't have sent people to infiltrate the spiritual race. Zhao Feng mentally muttered. He was confident that once he saw the Life God, he would be able to see the light. At the top of the ancient tree of life was a palace of translucent green that exuded a comfortable life energy. Upon entering the palace, the group froze in place. At the front of the palace stood a tall and elegant woman, dressed in a light green palace gown that trailed several feet off the ground. Perfect and well-proportioned curves, fair and translucent skin, and a soft, exquisite, and peerlessly beautiful face made everything around her pale in comparison. The Life God. Zhao Feng's heart trembled. He hadn't expected the Life God to be such a beautiful woman. She also didn't seem very old. It was truly difficult to associate her with someone who had lived for tens of billions of years. The Life God was like a noble and inviolable goddess, but she gave off an inexplicable sense of affinity. Anyone who saw her would feel a sense of familiarity and affection. The spiritual race members were immersed in the Life God's amicable beauty, their worries instantly disappearing. Even the spiritual race patriarch, a second heaven monster who had lived for countless years, was silently admiring the Life God. People of the spiritual race. The Life God suddenly spoke, her heavenly voice penetrating straight into their minds. Greetings, Life God. The spiritual race group immediately bowed. No need to be so polite. People of the spiritual race, have you come to ask for help from the sacred land? The life god slowly sat down. Yes, the spiritual race was forcefully infiltrated by the heaven-defying faction. If not for the fact that Zhao Yufei and Zhao Feng had returned in time, the entire spiritual race would have been theirs. The spiritual race patriarch revealed a sorrowful expression. It's not just the spiritual race. The blazing gold race, the divine tree forest, and the heaven-shaking alliance are all the same. The life god's serious expression displayed a different kind of beauty. The life god had sensed that something was wrong and sent people to infiltrate the 4 5-star factions, but she had never been able to find out the specifics. That was until Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei returned and disrupted everything for the spiritual race. After listening to the spiritual race patriarch's explanation, the life god gained a deeper understanding of this matter. What? The other 5-star factions? The patriarch, second elder, and the others were all stunned. The 3 factions the life god spoke of were the other 5-star factions of the Xiling Zone, besides the spiritual race. One could even say that the heaven-defying faction had infiltrated almost all of the Xiling Zone besides the life-sacred land. Just what is the heaven-defying faction trying to do? Zhao Feng's heart sank. On the border of the Xiling Zone, in the Heaven's Legacy Race Divine Kingdom, the upper echelon of the heaven-defying faction was gathered in a pitch-black palace at the summit of Heaven's Legacy Island. Heaven Lord, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei have returned, and something has happened to the spiritual race. All the people hiding there have been wiped out. A black-robed elder stood up. Back then, Bai Minghui had sent him a request for help, but the heaven-defying faction had not sent any reinforcements. It's not important, the protector flatly said. The Heaven Lord next to him had a faint smile on his face the entire time. But the others present truly did show a hint of anger. This time, it was the 9th god who had once more interfered. It is time to show the ancient, desolate realm of gods everything we have. Only one step remains for our plan. The Heaven Lord suddenly said, a faint smile on his lips and a sharp light in his deep and boundless eyes. Chapter 1527. The Life Sacred Land, the Central Secret Hall. I will give you a reply soon. The Life Dominus said gently and gently. Now that they had obtained a lot of information from the Spirit Tribe, the Holy Land needed to investigate further before they could understand more about the situation. That was why the Life God hadn't given the orders so easily. Instead, she had allowed the astrals to remain in the sacred land and ensure their safety. Farewell. Everyone got up and left. Patriarch, what do you think is going on? The second elder asked in a low voice. He sensed that this matter was definitely not simple. In the past, the heaven-defying faction had always done their best to conceal themselves and not be discovered. But recently, a massive change had taken place. Some time ago, the heaven-defying faction had broken through the illusion god's sacred land, and now they were even encroaching on the Xiling Zone's power structure. This was simply audacious. Not sure. The Patriarch sighed. The heaven-defying faction's actions were no different from provoking the sacred land. But they did not believe that the heaven-defying faction would dare to attack the life sacred land. One had to know that almost all those who could obtain the title of ruler were undying, the strongest existences in the ancient desolate realm of gods. Ever since the birth of the 8 great god eyes, not a single god had died. And now was the era of the 8 great god eyes. The 8 great god eyes were the symbols of gods. Normal people in the ancient desolate realm of gods only had 2 ways to obtain the title of god. The first was to obtain a complete ancestral artifact, and the second was to perfectly fuse 2 or more perfect laws. But there were exceptions to everything. A god eye holder only needed to reach the god king level to naturally become a god. This was because the god eye itself was an ancestral artifact, perhaps even higher. It contained the origin great Tao of this world. However, as far as Zhao Feng was concerned, it was possible that the heaven-defying faction would make a move against the sacred land with a hegemon. Having interacted with the heaven-defying faction many times, Zhao Feng's understanding of this faction far surpassed that of ordinary people. In addition, it could be seen that the Life Dominus was a pacifist. She was even more tolerant of others' provocations. If it were any other sacred ground, they would have already spoken frankly and taken the initiative to negotiate with the heaven-defying faction. Of course, it was useless for Zhao Feng to think about these things now. After returning to his room, Zhao Feng entered his divine kingdom and began to cultivate in seclusion. Whoosh! A dark and twisted fragment appeared in Zhao Feng's hand. This was the ancestral artifact fragment he had obtained from Baiming Hui, and it was the ancestral artifact of the heaven-mending race. Once I control this ancestral artifact fragment, my attack power will increase even more. Zhao Feng smiled as he began to refine the ancestral artifact fragment. At the same time, Zhao Feng split a part of his consciousness to cultivate something else. His first thought was to cultivate the primal chaos domain. This was his first time using it in a real battle, so Zhao Feng gained many insights. Furthermore, he had just learned this battle skill and was not very familiar with it yet. Next, Zhao Feng was comprehending the primal chaos scripture and condensing his divine power. Finally, he focused on studying ocular techniques. Zhao Feng believed that there was still room for improvement in the primal chaos lightning sword. Within the Dream Divine Kingdom, 1 year passed in the blink of an eye. Only 1 day had passed in the outside world. During this period of time, Zhao Feng had successfully refined the ancestral artifact fragment and was familiarizing himself with it within the Dream Divine Kingdom. At Zhao Feng's current level, the boost from the ancestral artifact fragment was not as great as he imagined it to be, but in a battle between experts, the slightest difference could decide the outcome. After familiarizing himself with the ancestral artifact fragment, Zhao Feng continued his seclusion. It didn't take long before Zhao Feng sensed that the situation in the outside world was rather strange. Although he was within the Divine Kingdom, he could still sense what was going on within a certain distance of the outside world. Swish! Zhao Feng immediately left the Divine Kingdom. At the same time, thump, 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 a thunderous drumming entered Zhao Feng's mind. For some reason, when he heard this sound, Zhao Feng felt a burning desire to fight. Brother Feng, something major has happened. At this moment, Zhao Yufei's worried voice came from outside the room. After leaving the house, the sound of war drums that pierced through his heart grew even more intense. The heaven-defying faction Divine Kingdom has suddenly descended on the life-sacred land and is attacking. Zhao Yufei had an anxious look on her face. Although Zhao Feng had already thought of this possibility, he was still shocked to hear this news. The heaven-defying faction dared to attack a sacred land presided over by a god. The god's sacred land could be considered one of the strongest factions in the ancient desolate realm of gods. What was the heaven-defying faction's goal in attacking the god's sacred land? Zhao Feng did not believe that the heaven-defying faction had attacked the god's sacred land because he was hiding here. Thuish! Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei swiftly went outside. Outside the life-sacred land's barrier was a massive illusory world. This was the heaven-defying faction's Divine Kingdom. In the surroundings, countless experts had arranged themselves into various arrays to surround the life-sacred land. The other 3 5-star factions are all under the control of the Heaven's Legacy race. The spiritual race patriarch looked around and said, the 3 factions of the Xiling Zone were among these people. Only the spiritual race, which had been freed by Zhao Feng's return, was not among them. The sacred land was not very nervous in the face of the heaven-defying faction's powerful offensive. This was because their sacred land was presided over by a god. Thuish! At that instant, a faint green figure flew out and turned into a forest goddess, standing between the heavens and earth. At the same time, all the members of the life-sacred land turned to her with reverent gazes. Heaven's Legacy race, what is the meaning of this? The life god spoke in a gentle and bright voice. She had just sent people to investigate the situation, and before the intelligence agents had even returned, the heaven-defying faction had come. Everything had happened far too suddenly. Swish! A white-robed figure appeared in the passage to the illusory world. Heaven Lord! Zhao Feng inwardly muttered in shock. At this moment, the Heaven Lord gave Zhao Feng a familiar and unfamiliar feeling. Familiar because they had spent some time together, but unfamiliar because the Heaven Lord was very different from the past. Life God Eye, your mission ends here. The Heaven Lord faintly smiled as he stared at the Life God. Whoosh! He raised his right hand and lightly waved it. In a flash, powerful ripples of divine power soared into the sky around the Life Sacred Land. Attack! Deafening roars of fury came from all around. The upper echelon members of the Life Sacred Land had not expected the heaven-defying faction to attack without saying anything. It seems like you still haven't learned your lesson from last time. An elder several dozen feet tall, whose skin was covered in growth rings, walked out from the upper echelon of the Life Sacred Land. God King Radiant Peak. Everyone couldn't help but call out. God King Radiant Peak was the second most powerful person in the Sacred Land after the Life God. When the Life God was in seclusion, God King Radiant Peak was in charge of all the affairs of the Sacred Land. History is written by the victors. The Heaven Lord smiled, his face suffused with confidence. Counterattack! God King Radiant Peak suddenly bellowed. The Life God loved peace and was somewhat reluctant to start a war, but he would not show any mercy. The dignity of the Life Sacred Land could not be challenged by others. All the members of the Sacred Land were mobilized, instantly forming into 4 large groups that charged out from 4 different directions. A few moments later, the 2 sides began to fight. Boom! The world around the Life Sacred Land turned gray and gloomy, but this did not affect everyone's vision. A battle between sacred lands. Zhao Feng was startled. He had never imagined that he would be able to witness such a major battle. It wasn't that a sacred land had never been overthrown before, but it was rarely seen even once in a billion years. But in this battle between sacred lands, one side was the Life Sacred Land, which had a god presiding over it, and the other was the heaven-defying faction. Boom! Bang! Crash! Explosions rang out around the Life Sacred Land. The battle level ranged from true god to god lord. But right now, the main combatants were the true gods and ancient gods, and neither side had sent out many god lords. But it didn't take long for the balance of the battle to begin to tilt. To think that the heaven-defying faction would have such a powerful reserve. God King Radiant Peak was alarmed. One had to realize that the Life Sacred Land had many doctors that were extremely useful on the battlefield. But in this situation, the heaven-defying faction still had the upper hand. This was partly because the heaven-defying faction had devoured the 3 5-star factions of the Xiling Zone and the many 4-star factions under them. Members of the spiritual race, you should also join the battle. God King Radiant Peak suddenly turned to the spiritual race. The spiritual race was a vassal of the Sacred Land, and it was currently residing in the Sacred Land. If the Sacred Land was in trouble, it would have to do something. But Brother Feng is the 9th God Eye. Zhao Yufei spoke up. Zhao Feng was the holder of the 9th God Eye and one of the heaven-defying faction's main targets. Once he joined the battle, he would probably be targeted by the heaven-defying faction. Zhao Feng doesn't need to fight right now. God King Radiant Peak immediately said. As the 9th God Eye, Zhao Feng truly did attract a lot of hatred and might cause an uncontrollable shift in the battle. In addition, Zhao Feng had killed divine emissary Bai Minghui, so it was not yet time for him to mobilize this sort of fighting force. Let's go. The patriarch bellowed as he led the spiritual race forward. Yufei, watch out, Zhao Feng warned. But the spiritual race's participation in the battle did not have much effect on the overall situation. The spiritual race members that had come to the Sacred Land had only been a small portion of the total. A battle at the level of a holy land. Such explosive news spread in all directions as soon as the battle began. First, The zones bordering the Xiling Zone learned of this. They immediately sent experts to the Xiling Zone to see what was going on, and a god king even personally went. The transformation of a sacred land was highly likely to alter the structure of the ancient desolate realm of gods, especially the zones closest to the life sacred land. The upper echelon members of the fallen heaven's sacred land of the Antean Zone were ecstatic. When the time came, the Xiling Zone would not only win or lose, its strength would also be greatly weakened. In the western region of the ancient desolate realm of gods, in the secret base of the sage faction, many of the sages were uneasy, but they found it difficult to divine anything. Danger from the ancient desolate realm of gods. Yu Qianwu found it difficult to divine the exact situation. After all, the heaven-defying faction was also a member of the Heaven's legacy race that could interfere with the sage faction's divination. Moreover, the divination involved far too many experts, including the life god, the heaven lord Yutian Shu, and many god kings and god lords. Lu Qinxin closed her eyes slightly as an extremely powerful force of destiny Dao brewed in her eyes. Gradually, she saw an image. In this image, a beautiful green-robed woman faced off against a white-robed elder. Chapter 1528. The war between Holy Lands was completely different from the war between five-star forces. Everywhere he looked, it was chaos. There was killing everywhere. The entire battlefield was extremely large, so both sides roughly divided the battlefield into 4 smaller battlefields, each with a commander in charge of the battle. The members of the Life Sacred Land had a clear division of labor. The frontliners were the frontliners, who were good at defense, the middle were the attackers and range players, and the backliners were in charge of support and healing. But the heaven-defying faction was the same, and they had even more tricks up their sleeves. The heaven-defying faction had many battleships, weapons of mass destruction, as well as special formations. This made their offensive power so great that even the Holy Lands found it difficult to deal with them. And this was the extremely powerful Life Sacred Land, with plenty of doctors skilled in healing. An ordinary sacred land would have no chance of victory. It was no wonder that the illusion god sacred land had fallen to the heaven-defying faction. However, the heaven-defying faction had just conquered the illusion god sacred land and had only been resting for a few years before attacking the life sacred land. This was truly inconceivable. Could it be that the heaven-defying faction had managed to recover in such a short time? Of course, there was another possibility, and that was that the heaven-defying faction had used an overwhelming advantage to defeat the illusion god sacred land, so their losses were not great. The heaven-defying faction actually has so many god-eye descendants. A third heaven god lord couldn't help but sigh. As a sacred land controlled by a god-eye, it had far fewer god-eye descendants than the heaven-defying faction. It seems like the heaven-defying faction's foundation far exceeds our expectations. God King Radiant Peak's expression was grim. However, he was not too worried. The low and middle-level battles had a relatively small impact on the outcome of the battle. The most important thing was the clash between the upper echelons, and on their side, they had the Life Sovereign. God Kings who had obtained the title of ruler could easily defeat ordinary God Kings. If the heaven-defying faction did not have the power to resist a ruler, they would have no chance of victory. Even if the heaven-defying faction had the power to fight against a ruler, they wouldn't be able to last for long, unless they had the power of a ruler. God King Radiant Peak just didn't understand why the heaven-defying faction was attacking the Life Sacred Land. At this moment, on the heaven-defying faction's side, Life God, why don't you just surrender and avoid turning the Life Sacred Land into a land of the dead? The Heaven Lord faintly smiled as he calmly spoke. Impossible. The Life Sovereign's expression was unprecedentedly serious. Although she was one of the 8 great god eyes that was not skilled in battle and did not like war, how could a god eye surrender to someone else? He, the protector, smiled evilly and gave an order. In a flash, the god-eye descendants of the heaven-defying faction began to gather together. What are they planning to do? God King Radiant Peak was confused. But in the next moment, his face darkened. Waves of dreadful God-I energy appeared in many places on the battlefield. At least 3 and at most 8 God-I descendants were using a secret technique to fuse the power of their eye bloodlines together. God-I fusion art, Zhao Feng murmured in his heart as he observed carefully. This secret art could be considered one of the heaven-defying faction's trump cards. At present, only Zhao Feng's origin energy could counter the power of the God-I fusion. Through his observations, Zhao Feng realized that most of the people on the battlefield were using the God-I fusion art in groups of 5 or 6. This method had the highest chance of success. As for the 8 of them, there were fewer examples. After all, it was extremely difficult and time-consuming. If they were interrupted, they would suffer a huge backlash. Of course, Zhao Feng was observing this because he was also very interested in this secret art. At his current cultivation level, and with his God-I level Dream God-I, he was able to glean a great deal of information from observing the God-I fusion art used by lower-level members. In a battle of the same level, if the opponent's technique wasn't too high-level, Zhao Feng could even copy and learn it. Kaboom! The energy of the God-I soared into the sky, intimidating all the members of the sacred land. As members of a sacred land controlled by a God-I, they naturally held God-Eyes in reverence. But at this moment, they sensed a God-I energy that only the life God-I had on their enemies. Boom! Bang! Explosions rang out everywhere on the battlefield, shaking heaven and earth. The power of the God-I fusion art swept through the sacred land members like rotten twigs. A few moments later, the entire heaven-defying faction had advanced 10,000 li this secret art. The life god was alarmed. She had only ever heard of this secret art, but she had never seen it herself. But now, the heaven-defying faction was using a large number of God-I descendants to use this secret art, instantly gaining an enormous advantage over the sacred land. Reporting, the Northern Army is no match. A soul message was sent through the token in God King Radiant Peak's hand into his mind. If one side was no match, they would either send reinforcements or retreat. But now that the sacred land had mobilized all its forces, sending reinforcements was no longer possible. Reporting, the Eastern Army is no match. Another report made God King Radiant Peak's face darken. Lord God, the lower-level forces are at a disadvantage. We can only increase the size of the battlefield and send experts to fight. God King Radiant Peak consulted the life god. Immediately increased the size of the battlefield so that the higher-level forces could fight. The lower-level forces would have to reduce casualties. The life god nodded in agreement with God King Radiant Peak's plan. The heaven-defying faction had all sorts of God-I descendants, and they also had the God-I fusion art. This was essentially one of their trump cards, so the sacred land could only do this. Fight! God King Radiant Peak messaged the god lords of the sacred land. In a flash, nearly 10 first heaven god lords and several second heaven god lords entered the fray. Haha, the life sacred land is only SOSO. The protector of the heaven-defying faction laughed heartily. At the same time, 10 some god lord experts emerged from the heaven-defying faction divine kingdom. Boom! Bang! The god lords of both sides fiercely clashed. A battle between god lords would create a massive disturbance, causing the number of people on the lower levels of the battlefield to gradually decrease. There were quite a few God-I descendants among the heaven-defying faction's god lords. However, taking away several god lords to use the God-I fusion art was equivalent to losing several god lords, and it would have a rather large effect on the battlefield. Moreover, the sacred land could use the sacrificial soldiers to interrupt the God-I fusion art. By losing one person, the God-I fusion art would be heavily injured by the backlash of the God-I fusion art. No matter how one looked at it, it was worth it. For this reason, the God-I fusion art wasn't very practical on the god lore battlefield. Even so, the heaven-defying faction had various God-I descendants, and the Eye of Life was not particularly outstanding in terms of fighting, so the heaven-defying faction still had the advantage. But the life sacred land was skilled in protracted battles, and its defensive and healing abilities were outstanding. The longer the battle dragged on, the more advantageous it would be. Alas, the heaven-defying faction would not let the life-sacred land have its way. Since they were attacking the life-sacred land, they had definitely made ample preparations. Shio! Shio! One god lord after another charged out of the heaven-defying faction divine kingdom to join the battle. Even palace kings were mobilized. The heaven-defying faction's palace kings were definitely invincible second heaven god lords. The heaven-defying faction has so many god lords, and all of them are of extraordinary strength. The upper echelon elders of the life-sacred land were flabbergasted. In the low-level battle, the heaven-defying faction had used the God-Eye fusion art to defeat the sacred land. On the God Lord battlefield, the heaven-defying faction was similarly powerful. God-Eye descendants, the top 20, and even the top 10 bloodlines of the ancient races had all appeared. In this situation, the God Lords of the life-sacred land could only move out one by one. But in the end, even though all the God Lords under the third heaven of the sacred land had come out, they were far inferior to the heaven-defying faction in terms of numbers. The heaven-defying faction, which originally had the upper hand in terms of fighting power, also had more people than the sacred land. The situation is bad. God King Radiant Peak's expression was extremely grim. Although this is not the right time for this one to take action, I still wish to lend the sacred land a hand. Zhao Feng suddenly said. Although there was no need for him to fight for the life-sacred land, the heaven-defying faction had tried to kill Zhao Feng several times, even targeting Zhao Yufei to force Zhao Feng to compromise. This grudge had to be avenged. Oh, what are your plans? God King Radiant Peak asked. Swish! With a wave of his hand, Zhao Feng's clones and the Black Destruction Dragon appeared. The Divine Kingdom path opened, and the few God, Lord experts of the Dream, Divine Kingdom emerged. Okay. God King Radiant Peak's eyes brightened. He still did not recommend that Zhao Feng take part in the battle, but Zhao Feng still had so many God Lord subordinates. Let's go, Zhao Feng called out. Once he entered the battle, the heaven-defying faction would definitely take corresponding measures, so it would not have much of an impact on the overall situation. Thus, Zhao Feng first had his subordinates enter the battle and secretly assist them. Sacred Land Level Battle. The Black Destruction Dragon's eyes gleamed with savage light as it howled forward, the rest of its subordinates following. Zhao Feng divided his subordinates into 4 teams that joined the battle. Destruction Dragon Blast. The Black Destruction Dragon charged at a black-scaled Second Heaven Elder. Today I'll kill a true Destruction Dragon like you. The black-scaled Elder savagely smiled. The blood of the Destruction Dragon race flowed through his veins, though it was transplanted. The Black Destruction Dragon raised its head and roared, its savage gaze sweeping across the battlefield. Swish! A pitch-black metal fragment appeared in its hand, wreathed in black flames and exuding a destructive aura. Ancestral Artifact Fragment. The black-scaled Elder grimaced. At this moment, the Black Destruction Dragon charged forward, activating the Ancestral Artifact Fragment to launch a destructive attack. As a true Destruction Dragon with an Ancestral Artifact Fragment, the Black Destruction Dragon's strength far surpassed the black-scaled Elder's understanding. In addition, Zhao Feng had placed a God-Eye mark on the Black Destruction Dragon's body. Through this mark, the Black Destruction Dragon could obtain the support of Zhao Feng's eye intent and a portion of the Dream God-Eye's abilities. The Black Destruction Dragon felt everything in front of it become 10 times clearer, and its perception of everything around it reached the pinnacle. Boom! Bang! Crash! After several hundred exchanges, the heavily injured black-scaled Elder was struck by the Black Destruction Dragon's sure-kill blow. The black-scaled Elder's body was engulfed by a black sun. Even though he had a Destruction Dragon body, the black sun continued to roast him until he was completely annihilated. At the same time, Zhao Feng's other subordinates also received support from his eye intent, making them far stronger than normal. although Zhao Feng's subordinates didn't have much of an impact on the overall battle situation. After a while, the influence of the subordinates that Zhao Feng sent into the battle began to grow. As time passed, the influence of the subordinates that Zhao Feng sent into the battle began to accumulate, and the tides of the battle began to turn. Chapter 1529. The Life Sacred Land. As the war continued for a period of time, the subordinates that Zhao Feng sent to participate in the war gradually expanded their influence on the battlefield. Gradually, the situation on the battlefield began to change. However, the scale of the battle was too great. The people that Zhao Feng sent to participate in the battle were still unable to gain a great advantage. Elder Hua Feng, recall all the experts who have gone out to temper themselves and request reinforcement from our allies. The Life Dominus, who had been paying attention to the entire battle, suddenly spoke. From the very start, the heaven-defying faction had displayed a powerful display that left the Life Sacred Land flabbergasted. Presumably, since the heaven-defying faction dared to attack the Life Sacred Land, they had naturally made preparations and were somewhat confident. In addition, not even the Life God could see through the Heaven Lord of the heaven-defying faction. In this situation, the Life Sacred Land could not be arrogant and needed to prepare with all its strength. The Life Sacred Land could be considered the sacred land of medicine in the ancient desolate realm of gods, and countless people owed it favors. As for the Life Sovereign, her connections were extremely extensive. However, at this point, it was unknown how many people would be willing to help. Yes, God King Radiant Peak nodded and gave the order. The Xiling Zone, outside the Life Sacred Land. A black-robed woman sat on a black lotus platform and flew rapidly. Xiao! A streak of white light surged from behind, emitting a sharp sword intent that could cut through all things. It instantly caught up to the woman in black. Isn't that God, Lord Lotus Desire? The white sword light stopped and turned into an old man dressed in white. I didn't think that God Lord Ninesword would also come. God Lord Lotus Desire gave an alluring smile. This cloth-clothed elder was a third heaven expert of a Sword Dao sacred land in a zone adjacent to the Xiling Zone, God Lord Ninesword. How can I miss out on a great battle between sovereign, level holy lands? God Lord Ninesword's eyes gleamed. It wasn't that sacred lands had never fought each other before, but it was extremely rare for a sacred land to have a sovereign overseeing it. Even he couldn't remember a single one. Moreover, the other party fighting the Life Sacred Land was the Heaven's Legacy race. This was a battle that he naturally couldn't miss. But when God Lord Lotus Desire and God Lord Ninesword arrived at the battlefield, they discovered that quite a few experts had already gathered, almost all of them here to watch this battle. One of the most powerful forces was the Antean Domain's Fallen Heaven Holy Land. The Fallen Heaven Sacred Land has sent so many experts. In my opinion, even if the Life Sacred Land wins, the Fallen Heaven Sacred Land might use this chance to attack. God Lord Ninesword and God Lord Lotus Desire messaged each other. Let's take a look at the situation first. God Lord Lotus Desire waved her jade-like hand again and again, drawing out a strange black symbol that shot off into the distance. Not long after, buzz, black flames blazed in front of God Lord Lotus Desire, forming a small screen that displayed the blurry scenes of the battle. At this moment, God Lord Ninesword received a message. The Life Sacred Land is requesting reinforcements? God Lord Lotus Desire wickedly smiled. Let's observe the situation first. If there's no chance of victory, this old man will not go and throw his life away. God Lord Ninesword remained indifferent and unmoved. The Battle of the Sacred Land had attracted the attention of the peak experts of the Xiling Zone and its neighboring zones. If the two factions were both injured, they could also take advantage of the situation. Meanwhile, the news of the war between the heaven-defying faction and the Life Sacred Land continued to spread. The entire ancient desolate realm of gods started to shake. The Life Sacred Land. The battle was still ongoing. Suddenly, the Heaven Lord asked, Life God, do you still want to hold on? The Life God did not reply. As someone with the life god eye and the title of god, she would never surrender. Moreover, she did not believe that she would lose. With her connections and geographical advantage, the life-sacred land would never lose. Whoosh! The Heaven Lord raised a palm and lightly waved it down. Several figures charged out of the heaven-defying faction Divine Kingdom, all of them exuding heaven-shaking auras. Third Heaven, God King Radiant Peak, was startled. The battle had only just begun, but the heaven-defying faction was already sending out Third Heaven God Lords. Did the heaven-defying faction really plan on quickly overrunning the life-sacred land? Whoosh! 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 The heaven-defying faction immediately sent out Third Heaven God Lords. The life-sacred land had no choice but to send out Third Heaven God Lords. But is that all they have? God King Radiant Peak was rather confused. The heaven-defying faction had only sent out 5 Third Heaven God Lords, while the life-sacred land had 7. Divine emissaries attack. The Heaven Lord gave a mocking smile and then called out, "Swish! Swish!" 6 figures wearing identical white robes appeared in the heaven-defying faction Divine Kingdom. There's another 6 Third Heaven God Lords. God King Radiant Peak was startled. He could sense that these 6 Third Heaven God Lords all exuded extremely powerful and dangerous bloodline energy. They were definitely not easy to deal with. A hint of surprise appeared on Zhao Feng's face. His eyes were focused on a slender, white-robed man among the 6 divine emissaries. It's him. This person was none other than Divine Emissary Chong, the one who had worked with Bai Minghui to capture Zhao Yufei and obstruct Zhao Feng's group. But later on, Divine Emissary Chong was killed by Zhao Feng in Twilight Valley. It seems like the Eye of Samsara revived him. Zhao Feng's heart sank. The heaven-defying faction definitely had a third heaven Eye of Samsara, or else they would not have been able to revive Divine Emissary Chong so easily. Of course, Bai Minghui had also been killed by Zhao Feng some time ago, but too little time had passed. The descendant of the Eye of Samsara of the heaven-defying faction had probably not recovered yet, so he had not revived Bai Minghui. Boom! Bang! The 6 divine emissaries split up into 4 different battlefields, displaying heaven-shaking power. In this clash of third heavens, the life-sacred land's god lords were on the back foot. Meanwhile, the heaven-defying faction was advancing. This grim situation made God King Radiant Peak and the life god grimace. "Zhao Feng, you must go," God King Radiant Peak immediately said. At this moment, the heaven-defying faction had far more third heaven god lords in the sacred land, and the 6 divine emissaries that had appeared at the very end were far stronger than ordinary third heavens. In this situation, the life-sacred land would find it very difficult to deal with, so Zhao Feng had to go. Wait a moment. Zhao Feng extended a palm to indicate time. What's wrong? God King Radiant Peak frowned. Had Zhao Feng seen the enemy's power and decided to retreat? Wait a moment. Zhao Feng's eyes darkened as he entered the dream Divine Kingdom. God King Radiant Peak was confused. Had Zhao Feng gone to the Divine Kingdom to prepare something? But a moment later, he grimaced. This was because the Divine Kingdom hidden nearby had suddenly vanished. He left? How? God King Radiant Peak was stunned. The life-sacred land was currently protected by the Sacred Land Array. The people inside could not use instant movement, and the people outside could only break through the Sacred Land's array to enter the Sacred Land. But Zhao Feng had silently left the life-sacred land without any warning. Even the life god was alarmed by this sight. She also didn't understand the reason behind this. Unless Zhao Feng had a damaged spatial ancestral artifact, or even an ancestral artifact, he could not have so easily left the life-sacred land. But then, an even more shocking sight took place. Buzz, BZZ. A dreamy mist appeared in the air, and a figure slowly emerged. Zhao Feng. This energy, is it the ability of a god eye? This time, the life god noticed the crux of the matter. Zhao Feng was able to directly leave and return to the sacred land because of a special ability of the 9th god eye. In the current ancient desolate realm of gods, only 3 or 4 people, including the space-time god, can enter and leave my life's sacred land without using any external power. I didn't think that one more would appear. The life god gave a cheerful smile and praise. Zhao Feng was moved. Even Zhao Feng, who was used to seeing beautiful women, was captivated by the life god's beauty. I will do my best to help the life sacred land, Zhao Feng firmly said. The heaven-defying faction had always been Zhao Feng's enemy. He could not allow the heaven-defying faction to continue growing stronger as it wished. When Zhao Feng used thought teleportation to return to the Sage faction, he learned from Yu Tianwu that this sacred land war would decide the fate of the ancient desolate realm of gods. Swish! With a wave of the space-time robe, several dozen people appeared. Xi and Wuheng, Twilight Valley, the giant god race Grand Elder, and the others were among them. These people were the top-class experts of the Light Race and Giant God Hall. After all, bringing along low-level true gods wouldn't have much effect on the war. We're here, Xi and Wuheng and Twilight Valley called out in surprise as they looked around in shock. They had learned from Zhao Feng that the heaven-defying faction had attacked the life sacred land, paying respects to the life god. The Light Race and Giant God Hall experts called out in unison. They're all enemies of the heaven-defying faction. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. Okay. God King Radiant Peak heartily laughed. As it turned out, Zhao Feng had gone to call for reinforcements. Although they had sent out a distress signal, they didn't know how long it would take for reinforcements to arrive. But Zhao Feng had instantly called for reinforcements. Twilight Valley and Xi and Wuheng were both at the third heaven. The arrival of these people was like coal in the middle of a snowstorm. Attack! Zhao Feng called out as he threw himself onto the battlefield. Whoosh! 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 The Light Race and Giant God Race members followed Zhao Feng. Whoosh! Zhao Feng left behind a spatial ripple as he entered the battlefield, but he did not take the initiative to fight the divine emissary. He condensed 2 primal chaos tribulation lightning swords in his hands, and many tribulation lightning claws extended from his swords. This allowed the primal chaos tribulation lightning swords to attack further and more nimble. Swish! Zhao Feng's figure moved back and forth with lightning-fast speed that no one could react to. Wherever he went, the tribulation lightning claws on the 2 primal chaos tribulation lightning swords would wreak havoc on the divine bodies of enemy god lords. Ordinary first or second heaven god lords would be doomed to die to a casual attack from Zhao Feng. Ah! Miserable cries rose and fell without end. It's Zhao Feng. Run! Panic cries came from all around. Most of the upper echelon members of the heaven-defying faction knew that Zhao Feng had killed a divine emissary. In the distance, divine emissary Chong, who had been killed by Zhao Feng, had a sharp and murderous look in his eyes. Divine emissary Li, lend me a hand. Divine emissary Chong immediately called out. Zhao Feng and Twilight Valley had worked together to kill him. He had been reborn to take revenge. On the other side, a callous middle-aged man was shrouded in a towering red image. Boom! Bang! The towering red image wielded a blood-colored saber that cleaved a second heaven god lord in 2, causing blood to spray into the air. At the same time, the energy and blood essence of that second heaven god lord were completely devoured by the blood-red saber, exuding an intimidating and bloody aura. Oh, the 9th god eye? Divine emissary Li shot a bloodthirsty glance at Zhao Feng. Chapter 1530. In the distance, the upper echelon members of the heaven-defying faction glanced at Zhao Feng. Heaven Lord, the 9th god I has appeared. Should we? The protector whispered. There's no rush. Let me experience the power of the 9th god I a little longer. The Heaven Lord shook his head, his eyes staring at Zhao Feng in confusion. The protector nodded and glanced at the Heaven Lord's eyes. When he went to capture Zhao Feng, he had obtained some of Zhao Feng's blood. This was also why the Heaven Lord's plan had been able to reach its initial stage so quickly. If not for this, it would have taken tens of thousands of years, or even longer. The Ninth God Eye, are you really the Ninth God Eye? The Protector mentally muttered. On the battlefield, Zhao Feng wielded a primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. Tribulation lightning claws circling around his body as he wantonly killed enemy members. The life-sacred land was at a disadvantage. Even if Zhao Feng started fighting with the divine emissaries, it wouldn't have much of an impact on the battle. Thus, when Zhao Feng entered the battle, he quickly slaughtered the low-level god lords, making the enemy members tremble in fear. Moreover, the divine emissaries would naturally come to him. There was no need for Zhao Feng to attack. As expected, swoosh, swoosh, two soul-stirring auras approached from the distant horizon. "They're here." Zhao Feng glanced at them. Two divine emissaries had come, but Zhao Feng had already killed quite a few low-level god lords of the heaven-defying faction, which had a significant effect on the overall battle. Zhao Feng died. Divine emissary Chang's body flickered as he transformed into a streak of white light that rapidly approached Zhao Feng. He was the first of the 7 divine emissaries to be killed, and all of this was thanks to Zhao Feng. Divine emissary Li followed, a sinister and bloodthirsty laugh on his lips. The light race and the god martial race. Zhao Feng calmly went up to meet them. Swish! He swung his 2 primal chaos tribulation lightning swords, unleashing 2 bolts of primal chaos tribulation lightning energy at the 2 divine emissaries. Divine emissary Li brandished the scarlet saber in his hand and took the initiative to meet him. Boom! Bang! A terrifying storm of divine power swept out, slamming into divine emissary Li's body and causing his blood to surge. Such a powerful god power. It is even more powerful than Biming Hui. No wonder he was killed by you. Divine emissary Li's body froze for a moment, and then he revealed an even more excited and bloodthirsty smile. Among the 7 messengers, Biming Hui was his sworn enemy. The two had battled dozens of times, and it was always hard to tell who would win. But now that his sworn enemy had been killed, divine emissary Li was extremely interested in Zhao Feng. On the other side, divine emissary Chang, who possessed the light race bloodline, was able to dodge Zhao Feng's attack. This kid is even stronger than before. Divine emissary Chang's face chilled. But this was useless. Could Zhao Feng really block the attacks of 2 divine emissaries? I can't fight for long. I have to kill one of them quickly. Zhao Feng's face darkened as he analyzed the situation. He still had a chance of winning against 2 divine emissaries, but killing them would be even more difficult. Meow meow. Zhao Feng called out the little thieving cat and prepared to join the battle. Blood devil frenzied slash. Divine emissary Li wildly slashed out with his saber. The massive red god devil image on his body also wielded a translucent blood-red saber and performed the same action. Boom! Blood-colored saber bolts crisscrossed the world, creating a chaotic storm of sabers. Before the attack even arrived, a bloodthirsty fighting intent assailed Zhao Feng's mind. Fortunately, Zhao Feng had a powerful soul and will. In the face of this assault, he remained unmoved. Die! Zhao Feng gripped his sword with both hands and unleashed several hundred primal chaos tribulation lightning slashes. These hundreds of sword bolts exuded boundless tribulation lightning energy that linked together to form a net of tribulation lightning swords. Bang! The 2 vast energies collided, wreaking havoc and annihilating each other. At this moment, a streak of light shot behind Zhao Feng. Swoosh swoosh. Divine emissary Chang waved his arms, creating 2 enormous white blades that slashed at Zhao Feng. Wherever these 2 white blades passed, everything returned to silence and slowed to a crawl. Primal Chaos Domain. Zhao Feng unleashed vast amounts of primal chaos energy that fused with the world around him. A moment later, everything for hundreds of thousands of li turned dark and gloomy. Everything in the world began to vanish, transforming into streams of primal chaos energy that wreaked havoc in the world. In a flash, the primal chaos domain took shape. Within this domain, Divine Emissary Chong and Divine Emissary Li immediately sensed that their connection to the world had been severed and that their strength was affected. At the same time, the two time slashes were also being suppressed, and their might weakened. Buzz. Inside the primal chaos domain, several powerful streams of primal chaos turbulence formed. They were as thick as vines, blocking the two time blades. In the primal chaos domain, Zhao Feng could easily control the primal chaos energy around him. At the same time, Zhao Feng released his time law energy to counteract Divine Emissary Chang's time law energy and increase his speed. Thuish. Zhao Feng dodged Divine Emissary Chang's attack and attacked Divine Emissary Li. As a member of the light race, Divine Emissary Chang was fast and had a time body that was rather difficult to kill. In comparison, although God Martial race experts were powerful, they were more likely to die. Junior, are you looking down on me? Do you think that I'm weak? Divine Emissary Li's eyes flashed with red light. They had attacked Zhao Feng from both sides, but Zhao Feng had chosen to attack him first. Light and shadow intertwined as the two of them collided. Clink-clang. The blood-red glow and chaotic lightning surged and swept across the sky, startling the surroundings. In my view, you're just weak. Zhao Feng bellowed. His primal chaos tribulation lightning soared madly, slashing down. In the primal chaos domain, Zhao Feng's offensive power was boosted, and his mind could control the streams of primal chaos energy around him to serve as his defense. Thus, he did not fear a divine emissary with the bloodline of the God Martial race. Moreover, his primal chaos tribulation lightning divine power was far stronger than divine emissary Li's. Boom! Bang! In a burst of dark lightning, the bloody saber energy was shattered. Divine Emissary Li's blood boiled as he was pushed back. In a one-on-one fight, I'm not a match for him. Divine Emissary Li's expression darkened. At this moment, Thuish. Two dazzling white time blades shot out from behind Zhao Feng. Primal Chaos Lightning Vortex. Zhao Feng once more unleashed his primal chaos energy, creating a pitch-black lightning vortex. Boom! Bang! Crash! Divine Emissary Chang's attack descended upon the primal chaos lightning vortex. A normal attack would have been pierced through by Divine Emissary Chang's time attack. But primal chaos energy was extraordinary and could even counter time energy to a certain extent. Swish! At the same time, the primal chaos lightning vortex unleashed a vast layer of tribulation lightning energy that shattered the time blades. Coupled with the weakening of the primal chaos domain, Divine Emissary Chang's attack was unable to break through Zhao Feng's primal chaos lightning vortex. But Zhao Feng had long ago expected this, so he ignored all of this and charged at Divine Emissary Li. Primal Chaos Lock. Zhao Feng brought his hands together. Countless streams of primal chaos energy gathered in the primal chaos domain and revolved around Divine Emissary Li. Scram! Divine Emissary Li roared as he slashed out with his bloody saber. A dazzling beam of crimson light instantly cut a hole through the binding of the streams of primal chaos energy. Primal Chaos Lightning Sword. Zhao Feng had been preparing an eye bloodline technique in his left eye for some time now. Thuish! A dark bolt of lightning pierced through Divine Emissary Li's chest. The dreadful primal chaos tribulation lightning energy instantly invaded Divine Emissary Li's body, destroying his divine body and soul. This allowed Divine Emissary Li to break through the primal chaos energy, but not immediately escape. Zhao Feng used this chance to activate the primal chaos lock. Hissus! More and more streams of primal chaos energy gathered, forming a ring of primal chaos energy that locked Divine Emissary Li within. Zhao Feng extended a hand. Swish! Boundless tribulation, lightning energy descended upon the primal chaos lock. The destructive and paralyzing power of the tribulation lightning and the devouring power of the primal chaos lock assailed Divine Emissary Li. preventing him from escaping for some time. Divine Emissary Li, I've come to save you. Divine Emissary Chang grimaced as he immediately charged at Zhao Feng. But at this moment, countless pitch-black streams of energy surged out of the gloomy primal chaos domain. Swoosh, swoosh. Countless black thorns of energy shot through the world to wrap around Divine Emissary Chang. At the same time, the pitch-black little thieving cat, radiating a lethal sharpness, shot through the air. But its attack was dodged by Divine Emissary Chang. Shadow Race. Divine Emissary Chang's eyes flashed. In this environment, the Shadow Race truly was able to unleash immense power. But the little thieving cat attacking him was of too low a level. Divine Emissary Chang activated his light race bloodline to dodge the black thorns of energy and get close to Zhao Feng. Moonlight Heaven Splendor Slash. Divine Emissary Chang's body erupted with dazzling white light that pierced through the world, including the primal chaos domain. BZZ. The dreadful time energy on his arm grew stronger and stronger, the light even more dazzling. At a certain moment, a dazzling white slash of energy poured down from the sky. In a flash, everything in the world seemed to slow down. BZZZ. Zhao Feng immediately used his time law to dispel the influence of Divine Emissary Chang's time law. At the same time, he activated the space-time robe, creating a space-time barrier around the primal chaos lightning vortex. Boom! Bang! Bang! The dazzling white slash of energy descended. The space-time barrier only lasted for a few moments before shattering. After all, the enemy's time energy was extremely powerful and could somewhat counter space-time barriers. Powerful time energy began to act on the primal chaos lightning vortex. The two forces clashed, causing the primal chaos lightning vortex to twist and distort as if it was about to be pierced through. But at this moment, the primal chaos domain began to surge. Hissus. Several primal chaos tentacles appeared in the primal chaos domain and fused with the primal chaos lightning vortex. In a flash, the primal chaos lightning vortex was replenished with primal chaos energy and returned to its peak state, greatly strengthening its defenses. Good. Zhao Feng smiled. He was confident that Divine Emissary Chang wouldn't be able to injure him. Swish. Zhao Feng clenched his hands, instantly condensing two primal chaos tribulation lightning swords and stabbing them into the primal chaos lock. Ah! Divine Emissary Li screamed in pain from within the primal chaos lock. Primal chaos lightning sword. At the same time, Zhao Feng used another eye bloodline technique from his left eye. Boom! In the dim primal chaos domain, a bolt of lightning instantly passed through the primal chaos lock. This primal chaos lightning sword once more dealt a destructive blow to Divine Emissary Li. Explode! Zhao Feng called out. The primal chaos lock and the two primal chaos tribulation lightning swords suddenly surged with forbidden energy. No! Divine Emissary Chang's eyes went wide as he cried out in alarm. But his attack was incapable of harming Zhao Feng. And with the little thieving cat obstructing him from the shadows, Divine Emissary Chang was powerless to save the situation. Bang! Heaven-shaking primal chaos energy swept through the world and gradually dissipated. Divine Emissary Li had already vanished. The God Martial race possessed outstanding fighting power and grew fiercer the more they fought, but their survivability was far inferior to that of the Light race, so they were much easier to kill. Last time, Zhao Feng had managed to kill Divine Emissary Chang with Twilight Valley's assistance. Now, Zhao Feng had single-handedly killed Divine Emissary Li despite Divine Emissary Chang's interference. Chapter 1531. Many experts around the battlefield were shocked. Zhao Feng had faced two divine emissaries of the heaven-defying faction at the same time, but he had managed to kill one of them. It had to be known that divine emissaries were peak experts of the third heaven. The difficulty of dealing with two divine emissaries working together was self-evident. On the other hand, The people from the Holy Land were overjoyed. After all, the power of a divine emissary was an enormous threat to them. Zhao Feng had only been fighting for a short while when he killed a divine emissary. He's actually so powerful. Divine emissary Chong appeared fearful and apprehensive. The two of them working together had managed to kill divine emissary Li. Not even the strongest of the 7 divine emissaries, divine emissary Wu, could do this. Now that he was the only one left, wouldn't staying here be equivalent to waiting for death? Whoosh! Divine emissary Chang's body exuded a strange ripple of light as he transformed into a streak of void god light and fled. You want to leave? Zhao Feng naturally would not let divine emissary Chong go. The heaven-defying faction's divine emissaries had a great influence on the war. Even the final battle, the divine emissary's power would be crucial. Therefore, if there was a chance, Zhao Feng would not let it go. He would kill everyone he could. Xiao. Circulating his space-time law, Zhao Feng shot off in pursuit of divine emissary Chong. As for the little thieving cat, Zhao Feng threw it onto the battlefield. This chaotic situation was perfect for the little thieving cat to fish in troubled waters. With its various abilities, not even a divine emissary would be able to capture it, so Zhao Feng was rather at ease. On the battlefield, 2 auroras shuttled back and forth. The one fleeing at the front was one of the heaven-defying faction's divine emissaries, divine emissary Chong, who possessed the light race bloodline, and Zhao Feng was chasing after him. Moreover, the distance between the two of them was gradually shrinking. Ever since Zhao Feng started cultivating, speed had always been his forte. His speed and technique far surpassed that of ordinary people, and he also possessed the law of space and time. Among them, the law of space had reached the peak of minor mastery, and the law of time had also reached minor mastery. What's going on? This kid's speed. Divine emissary Chong was ghastly pale and drenched in cold sweat. He could clearly feel the pressure and danger approaching him from behind. Swoosh! During the chase, Zhao Feng continuously slashed with the Chaos Thunder Tribulation sword in his hand. Streaks of Chaos Thunder Tribulation sword light that shook the sky whistled forward. Divine emissary Chong did not dare to take Zhao Feng's attack head-on and could only dodge. However, Zhao Feng's attack range was extremely large, and it was also filled with the power of space-time laws. When the primal Chaos Tribulation lightning brushed past Divine Emissary Chang's shoulder, a space-time law energy would affect him. If not for the fact that Divine Emissary Chong was extremely skilled in the time law, Zhao Feng would have already caught up to him. At this moment, he was doing his best to resist the space-time laws, but he was still somewhat affected. You will be killed. Divine Emissary Chong was horrified. If he died this time, the chances of him being resurrected were too low. There were countless casualties on the battlefield, and the Eye of Samsara at the 3rd heaven level expended a lot of energy to revive a 3rd heaven expert, so he needed to rest for a while. Moreover, this was the final phase of the Heaven Lord's plan. Once the war was over, they would no longer have any value, and whether they could be resurrected was a big question mark. In addition, after being killed twice by Zhao Feng, even if he came back to life, he would be too ashamed to show his face. Save me. Divine Emissary Chong immediately flew toward a nearby Divine Emissary and asked for help. Nearby, a white-robed old woman was fiercely battling with Xian Wuheng. Xian Wuheng had only recently broken into the 3rd heaven, so the white-robed old woman was firmly suppressing him. But at this moment, the white-robed old woman received a message and sensed 2 powerful auras rapidly approaching. The white-robed old woman's expression changed as soon as she looked over. This Divine Emissary Chong actually lured Zhao Feng to me. The white-robed old woman inwardly cursed. She was a little weaker than Divine Emissary Li and Divine Emissary Chong. Even Divine Emissary Li had been killed by Zhao Feng. If she wanted to help Divine Emissary Chong, wouldn't that be suicidal? The white-robed old woman immediately retreated into the distance. Xian Wuheng followed up with another attack when he saw this, and an enormous and shocking attack pressed down towards the white-clothed old woman like a tsunami. On the other side, divine emissary Chong was infuriated by this sight, thumping his chest and stamping his feet. They were both divine emissaries, but this woman was just watching him die. Primal Chaos Lightning Sword. Zhao Feng seized the opportunity and unleashed a bolt of lightning from his left eye. Boom! Dooish! There was a thunderous explosion as the dark Primal Chaos Lightning Sword pierced through divine emissary Chang's chest. Primal Chaos Tribulation Lightning Energy immediately assailed him. His divine emissary Chong clutched his chest and hissed. Even with his time body, he could not block Zhao Feng's Primal Chaos Lightning Sword. But in this moment of crisis, divine emissary Chong did not dare to linger. He immediately fled and asked for reinforcements. But divine emissary Chong discovered that wherever he went, the members of the heaven-defying faction would instinctively avoid him as if he were some sort of plague. Within the sacred land, God King Radiant Peak couldn't help but smile at this sight. Zhao Feng's strength is essentially invincible among third heavens. In my sacred land, no one below the God King level is a match for him. God King Radiant Peak couldn't help but sigh in praise. In truth, there were still 1 or 2 people in the sacred land who could put up a fight against Zhao Feng's current display of strength. But when he considered Zhao Feng's 9th God Eye, God King Radiant Peak said this. On the battlefield, Zhao Feng's actions had intimidated the heaven-defying faction and raised the morale of the Sacred Land's forces. Not good. That person is getting close to Zhao Feng. God King Radiant Peak was stunned. His divine sense had been covering the entire battlefield this entire time, allowing him to observe the entire situation. Currently, the strongest expert on the heaven-defying faction side was a white-robed old man who looked extremely ordinary. But his strength was anything but ordinary. God King Radiant Peak remembered that this person was also a divine emissary. At this moment, 2 veteran Third Heaven God Lords of the Sacred Land were working together, but they were no match for this white-robed elder. God King Radiant Peak immediately ordered the God Lords of his race to do everything in their power to stop this person. On the battlefield, divine emissary Chong had been injured many times, and his robe was in tatters. Killing intent. Zhao Feng's senses suddenly felt a heart-shaking killing intent. Scanning with his left eye, he spotted a white-robed elder. It's him. Zhao Feng's expression flickered. When he was captured by Baiming Hui and brought to the heaven-defying faction, the first person he saw was this ordinary-looking, calm, and amiable old man. At the time, Zhao Feng sensed that this person was stronger than Baiming Hui. Later on, he realized that this person was the leader of the 7 divine emissaries. This person isn't easy to deal with. I have to deal with this light race divine emissary first. Zhao Feng's expression became solemn as a terrifying aura surged from his body. Dooish! Zhao Feng suddenly sped up. Divine emissary Chang's heart trembled as he activated his light race bloodline and prepared to flee. Dreamification! A dreamy mist appeared from Zhao Feng's left eye, and a strong surge of eye intent spread out. A dazzling dreamy light suddenly appeared over the boundless battlefield. Bzzee. This dreamy light instantly spread out for more than 100,000 li. Everyone in this area felt their energy drop, and an inexplicable sense of danger emerged in their hearts. Of course, Zhao Feng's primary target was divine emissary Chong. In this dreamification world, divine emissary Chong was the one most affected. At this moment, his light race bloodline was being suppressed, but this did not affect his ability to use a secret escape art. Extinguish. Zhao Feng's left eye pierced through divine emissary Chang's body, taking in everything. His left eye focused on the burning light race bloodline in divine emissary Chang's body. At the same time, he circulated his thought power and sent out a powerful thought. Whoosh! In an instant, the burning light race bloodline vanished into thin air. Thus, divine emissary Chang's secret art was interrupted. What's going on? My bloodline energy has vanished. Divine Emissary Chong was instantly panicked. This was far too bizarre. Die. Using this chance, Zhao Feng swung his primal chaos tribulation lightning sword, gathering up vast amounts of worldly energy. Two huge dark sword slashes filled with boundless thunder and lightning. There was a distorted, devouring force field around them, absorbing all the power in the world. Oh no! Divine Emissary Chong couldn't help but tremble in the face of Zhao Feng's powerful attack. He once more ignited his light race bloodline in an attempt to dodge Zhao Feng's attack. But the bindings of dreamification and the space-time law greatly hindered Divine Emissary Chang's movements. Boom! Bang! The primal chaos tribulation lightning sword exploded, unleashing a destructive shockwave that swept through the surroundings. Everyone in a radius of tens of thousands of li was struck by this invisible shockwave and vomited blood. As the dust settled, a broken figure was revealed in the center. It was the heavily injured Divine Emissary Chong. Although Divine Emissary Chong had not managed to dodge this attack, he had managed to avoid being struck in a vital spot at the crucial moment. At this moment, Zhao Feng, you dare? A furious roar came from the distance. A white-robed elder was still rapidly approaching Zhao Feng despite the obstruction of two Third Heaven God Lords. Divine Emissary Wu, save me. Divine Emissary Wu's arrival instantly ignited the despairing Divine Emissary Chong. But Zhao Feng would not allow this to happen. Boom! Luish! Zhao Feng's left eye once more fired off a bolt of lightning that pierced through Divine Emissary Chang's head. At the same time, he circulated his thought power, sending a strange energy into Divine Emissary Chang's body. Whoosh! A moment later, Divine Emissary Chang's body began to dissipate. The moment the primal chaos lightning sword struck him, Divine Emissary Chang's resistance was at its weakest. At this moment, dreamification activated, and Divine Emissary Chong was obliterated by Zhao Feng. At this moment, Divine Emissary Wu approached. Behind Divine Emissary Wu, the two God Lords of the Life, Sacred Land smiled in delight. He's dead now. Zhao Feng turned to Divine Emissary Wu. This Divine Emissary Wu was undoubtedly an invincible expert below the God King level. He was much stronger than the Divine Emissaries Zhao Feng had encountered before. Thus, Zhao Feng had to kill Divine Emissary Chong before he could face this person. Zhao Feng, let's work together to kill this person. The Third Heaven God, Lords of the Life, Sacred Land messaged. Two veteran Third Heavens like them were unable to gain any advantage against Divine Emissary Wu, leaving them extremely depressed. But they had seen Zhao Feng's strength. If the three of them worked together, they would definitely be able to defeat Divine Emissary Wu. Chapter 1532. Zhao Feng, let's work together to kill this person. The Third Heaven God, Lords of the Life, Sacred Land messaged. Don't do anything. Let me deal with him alone. Zhao Feng flatly said. What? The God Lords of the Sacred Land were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped to their toes. Zhao Feng was too arrogant. The two of them couldn't deal with this person, but Zhao Feng said that he could deal with him alone. Was he looking down on them? The Life Sacred Land's victory is the most important right now. Zhao Feng added. The two Third Heaven God Lords thought for a moment and then nodded. In the current situation, even with the help of Zhao Feng's group, the Sacred Land was still in a disadvantageous position. If Zhao Feng could hold down Elder Wu, the two Third Heaven God Lords would be able to relieve some of the pressure on the battlefield and reverse the tide of the battle. Third Heavens were top-class fighting powers. If two Third Heavens were suddenly freed up, they would have a massive effect on the entire battle. Then be careful, the green-haired Elder warned, and then the two of them began to withdraw. Divine Emissary Wu and Zhao Feng faced off against each other. The area for tens of thousands of li around them was empty. This Wu must admire your courage. You actually dare to face me alone. Divine Emissary Wu gave a sinister smile. Zhao Feng said nothing, but he was brimming with fighting intent. He had killed Divine Emissary Chong twice, and divine emissary Li and Baiming Hui had also been killed by Zhao Feng. Ordinary divine emissaries were no longer able to arouse Zhao Feng's interest. He needed an evenly matched battle, one that could even put a little pressure on him. Only this way could he stimulate the potential of his ninth god eye. After all, Zhao Feng was already at the peak of the second heaven and was not far from being able to use the full power of his god eye. You will pay a grievous price for your arrogance. Divine emissary Wu's face turned extremely cold, and an evil killing intent began to radiate from him, causing the entire world to darken. Boom! An ancient and tyrannical bloodline energy erupted from his body, exuding an evil and awe-inspiring aura that grew stronger and stronger. This bloodline energy soared into the sky, accompanied by black-violet energy that caused the surrounding space to tremble. Buzz! This bloodline energy, the black-violet energy, gathered around Divine Emissary Wu. At the same time, Divine Emissary Wu's body, skin, and appearance began to change as he fused with the energy. What's going on? Within a radius of 100,000 kilometers, everyone was intimidated by this bloodline power. The bloodlines in their bodies trembled incessantly, unable to circulate. Fear rose from the depths of their bloodline. The divine emissaries of the heaven-defying faction were taken aback. Divine Emissary Wu is going all out. One of the reasons Divine Emissary Wu was the strongest of the 7 divine emissaries was because he had fused with this powerful bloodline. Such a powerful bloodline power. Zhao Feng's heart tightened and his face darkened. At this moment, the chaotic force in his body trembled slightly. The dreamy silver ball in the God-Eye dimension also began to stir restlessly. Within the life-sacred land, God King Radiant Peak and the Life God were also moved. This tyrannical and evil bloodline power should belong to the demon god race, ranked 4th among the 10,000 ancient races. God King Radiant Peak's heart sank. The demon god race, ranked 4th among the 10,000 ancient races, was a terrifying race that also possessed god-devil bodies. It was rumored that in the ancient era, this race had challenged the number 1 ancient race many times, but each time, it ended in defeat. No matter what, the demon god race was definitely the strongest fighting race beneath the ancient race. The demon god race? Zhao Feng recalled the 4th-ranked race of the ancient races. With the demon god race bloodline, I'm not much weaker than you, who can't use the full power of the God Eye. But the difference in cultivation is obvious. You will definitely lose to me. Divine Emissary Wu's expression was calm, his black and violet god-devil body exuding a tyrannical evil devil intent that suppressed his surroundings. Then let's try. Zhao Feng felt an enormous pressure, and a desire to fight ignited in his heart. Back when Zhao Feng encountered Yu Heng, who possessed the ancient race bloodline, his god spiritual, I had undergone a metamorphosis. This time, Divine Emissary Wu's demon god race bloodline seemed to have some effect on the god spiritual eye. Ha! Divine Emissary Wu savagely laughed. At this moment, his every movement exuded a tyrannical demonic Dao aura. He was like a peerless demon god, completely different from his ordinary demeanor. Demonic Heaven Palm. Divine Emissary Wu suddenly attacked, a black and violet light condensing in his right hand and thrusting it forward. Boom! A black and violet palm, seething with demonic energy and peerless tyranny, shot toward Zhao Feng. In the face of this attack, Zhao Feng flipped his palm, revealing a dark metal fragment. This was the primal chaos ancestral artifact fragment. In his battle with Divine Emissary Li and Divine Emissary Chong, Zhao Feng had not used it because they did not have the qualifications for Zhao Feng to use it. As he gripped the ancestral artifact fragment, primal chaos energy and tribulation lightning energy surged out, condensing into a massive primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. Boom! Bang! The two collided, their terrifying energies eating away at each other. A storm of black and purple lightning swept out in all directions, startling everyone. What a powerful energy! Zhao Feng gripped the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword with both hands, but he still found it extremely difficult to do so. If he didn't have primal chaos energy and tribulation lightning energy, he wouldn't even have the ability to fight against divine emissary Wu. Hey, not bad. Even without using the power of the God Eye, you can still fight against me. Divine emissary Wu heartily laughed, his aura intimidating. Go! Zhao Feng activated the space-time robes, 2 space ancestral artifact fragments, and 1-time ancestral artifact fragment. Swish! Swish! A gigantic silver blade slashed out and cut through the purplish-black Godfiend's palm. At the same time, the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword slashed through it. Zhao Feng immediately used the devouring element of primal chaos energy to absorb this demon god race energy. Thuish! The silver blade pierced through the air toward divine emissary Wu. Divine emissary Wu coldly snorted and unleashed a tyrannical demonic Tao energy. The black and violet mist around his body twisted and danced. When the void silver blade slashed down, it was ravaged by a powerful force, and its power gradually weakened. Crack! The dim silver blade cut into divine emissary Wu's divine body. But as it continued to cut through, the power of the silver blade rapidly weakened until it eventually vanished. The wound on divine emissary Wu's body healed in less than a second. Although the god-demon body of the demon god race can't compare to that of the ancient race, it's still extraordinary. Divine emissary Wu heartily laughed. Invincible in both offense and defense, Zhao Feng couldn't do anything to him. Thuish! The space beneath divine emissary Wu's feet suddenly twisted. With a thump, divine emissary Wu charged forward, rapidly approaching Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng was naturally not stupid enough to fight against the god-demon body of divine emissary Wu. He activated his space-time law and dodged. As he dodged, Zhao Feng swung his primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. Boom! Bang! The sword struck the black and violet figure of divine emissary Wu, causing him to pause and a bloody wound to appear on his shoulder. He got stronger? Did he absorb my tenebrous fiend energy? Divine emissary Wu's expression darkened. The wound on his shoulder exuded a black and violet energy that slowly healed. But that wasn't important. Even if Zhao Feng's attack increased by another level, it would still be of little use against the god-demon body. Demonic Heaven Palm. Divine emissary Wu gathered up his tenebrous fiend energy and once more unleashed a domineering palm of black and violet energy. Primal Chaos Domain. Zhao Feng unleashed vast amounts of primal chaos energy, turning this region of the world into a gloomy world of primal chaos. As the demonic heaven palm descended, Zhao Feng used all the energy of the primal chaos domain to fight back. Boom! Bang! Crash! The battle between the two became a forbidden ground on the battlefield. Just watching this terrifying storm from a distance was enough to make one's soul tremble. Dreamification. Zhao Feng grimaced as he mobilized his origin energy. Passively taking a beating was not his style. In a flash, the forbidden region was covered in dazzling, dreamy colors. The god-demon palm was instantly weakened. Bang! Using the power of the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword and the primal chaos domain, Zhao Feng shattered it in a single blow. At the same time, divine emissary Wu attacked Zhao Feng. Within the dreamification domain, even divine emissary Wu's god-demon body was somewhat affected. By relying on the weakening of dreamification and the primal chaos domain, Zhao Feng engaged in a brief clash with divine emissary Wu. Primal chaos energy was powerful on offense, but it was also suitable for defense. Moreover, Zhao Feng specialized in speed, so he was evenly matched against divine emissary Wu. Tenebrous demon god hand. Divine emissary Wu furrowed his brow as he circulated his tenebrous fiend energy and fired off a palm. He was also rather confused. Although his demon god race bloodline fusion rate was only 50%, he did not seem to be very resistant to Zhao Feng's dreamification power. And with the interference of the primal chaos domain, he felt like he was fighting in a quagmire. Thus, he gathered up his energy and unleashed a supreme attack. The palm of the demon god, which was surrounded by black and purple gas, was like a huge mountain. It came crashing down, shaking the heavens and the earth. I was just waiting for this. Zhao Feng's left eye immediately focused on Divine Emissary Wu's attack. God-Eye Duplication. Zhao Feng's left eye unleashed a dreamy mist that engulfed the demon god hand. Only by duplicating an enemy's supreme technique could one effectively strike the enemy. As he duplicated this move, Zhao Feng circulated the energy of the primal chaos domain to do his best to obstruct the palm. It's useless. Divine Emissary Wu laughed, his voice brimming with tyranny. Boom! Bang! Crash! The demon god hand obliterated all the obstructing primal chaos energy. But at this moment, the ripples from Zhao Feng's left eye receded, because the duplication was complete. God-Eye Illusory Oblivion. Zhao Feng once more used his Dream Origin Eye Bloodline technique. The demon god hand gradually began to glow with an even more dazzling, dreamy light. But a moment later, this dazzling and beautiful demon god hand began to fade away. What? My attack? Divine Emissary Wu was stunned. Although he knew that Zhao Feng had this ability, he hadn't expected it to also be effective against his tenebrous fiend energy. Primal Chaos Divine Sword. Lightning flashed from Zhao Feng's left eye, and a Primal Chaos lightning sword shot forward. Divine Emissary Wu's expression darkened as he thrust his palm forward. God-Eye Duplication, Tenebrous Demon God Hand. Zhao Feng's sole intent left his body. At the same time, a dreamy silver eye appeared in the sky behind Divine Emissary Wu. Buzz. BZZ. A dreamy mist began to spread, and then a massive demon god hand surging with demonic energy flew out of the mist. Not good. Divine Emissary Wu grimaced. He extended his other hand, unleashing black-violet energy that condensed into a thick black-violet wall. Boom! Bang! Crash! The tenebrous demon hand and the primal chaos lightning sword struck Divine Emissary Wu from both sides. The black-violet demonic energy and primal chaos lightning sword exploded, tearing several large holes in space. Many people on the battlefield were attracted by the battle between Zhao Feng and Divine Emissary Wu. I didn't think that Zhao Feng could fight Divine Emissary Wu to a standstill. The remaining Divine Emissaries were all stunned. What's the situation? Xian Wuheng was even more worried about the situation. Could Zhao Feng defeat the strongest Divine Emissary? Chapter 1533. Many people on the battlefield were attracted by the battle between Zhao Feng and Divine Emissary Wu. This was essentially a clash between the two strongest experts on the battlefield. The Life Sacred Land, God King Radiant Peak, and the Life God were also paying close attention to this battle. Whether Zhao Feng wins or loses, it's enough as long as he can hold down that demon god race expert. God King Radiant Peak took in a deep breath. Zhao Feng, single-handedly holding back Divine Emissary Wu, allowed the two veteran Third Heavens of the Sacred Land to take action. The pressure on the Sacred Land side was greatly reduced, and they were gradually turning the tables. The battle between the Life Sacred Land and the Heaven-defying faction was now evenly matched. Broom! At the center of the explosion, space shattered and black-violet lightning wreaked havoc. Divine Emissary Wu's back was in tatters, and a hole had appeared in his chest. This wound was rather difficult to heal. The defenses he had hastily built up were ultimately unable to block the tenebrous god-demon hand. In addition, Divine Emissary Wu was even more shocked that Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique had been able to inflict so much damage on him. Logically speaking, although an eye bloodline technique of this level was powerful, it should at most be able to inflict minor wounds that could be healed in a few moments. However, the actual situation was that the chaotic lightning sword's attack had penetrated his god-fiend body and caused him great injuries. Furthermore, the injuries were rather difficult to heal. Could it be because of the ninth god eye? Divine Emissary Wu's expression darkened. At this moment, Divine Emissary Wu once more sensed danger. Thwish! A bolt of lightning suddenly appeared in front of him. Another primal chaos lightning sword stabbed into Divine Emissary Wu's body. Zhao Feng's left, I could see everything. He realized that his eye bloodline technique was rather effective against Divine Emissary Wu's god-demon body. Thus, he once more used his eye bloodline technique. Divine Emissary Wu, who had suffered the first round of attacks, was struck once more. Hiss! Divine Emissary Wu couldn't help but scream. It had been a very long time since he had experienced such pain. I have to defeat this boy as quickly as possible. Divine Emissary Wu's face turned grave. Boom! Divine Emissary Wu charged out of the explosion, his tyrannical demonic intent charging at Zhao Feng. It seems like the dream god, I is more effective against you. Zhao Feng gave a faint smile. The dream god, I had long ago reached the god eye level, and it was being perfected in every aspect, allowing Zhao Feng to constantly utilize its abilities. Any eye bloodline technique that Zhao Feng used using the dream god, I would contain the origin energy of the dream god eye. Perhaps it was because of this that Zhao Feng's ocular technique had an unexpected effect on god fiend bodies. In addition, perhaps Zhao Feng's was also involved. He hoped that his eye bloodline technique would be effective against Divine Emissary Wu, and this wish was magnified to the greatest degree. Xiao! Zhao Feng retreated. At the same time, he activated the ability Realization. Zhao Feng had already perfected some of the low-rank ocular techniques in the past. He didn't even need to circulate them himself. He could use his Realization ability to complete them in an instant. Many of these were instant eye bloodline techniques that landed on Divine Emissary Wu's body. Boom! Bang! A series of eye bloodline techniques struck Divine Emissary Wu, dealing him a massive blow. Junior, you! Divine Emissary Wu's face froze. Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique was simply too fast. It didn't even seem like he had to expend much effort. While using eye bloodline techniques, he maintained a certain distance from Divine Emissary Wu. Primal Chaos Lightning Sword. Zhao Feng's left, I once more fired off a dark bolt of lightning. The moment he used the Primal Chaos Lightning Sword, his left eye once more began to exude a dazzling, dreamy hue. Power increased. Zhao Feng's left eye focused on the Primal Chaos Lightning Sword as he circulated his thought power into an intense thought. In a flash, the Primal Chaos Lightning Sword grew larger, its lightning even more dazzling, and its aura even more terrifying. Boom! Plush! The strengthened Primal Chaos Lightning Sword slammed into Divine Emissary Wu's chest, punching a large hole in his black-violet skin. Divine Emissary Wu's face turned red as he vomited blood, but the evil aura on his body only grew stronger and stronger, stirring the world and even affecting the minds of the people on the battlefield. The demon god race was a powerful fighting race. The greater the hatred and evil in their hearts, the greater the power they could unleash. Fiendish demonic eye. Divine Emissary Wu gathered his demonic Tao energy in his eyes and unleashed it. It was rumored that the demon god race possessed a pair of demonic eyes that could demonize a person, making them bloodthirsty, irrational, and inhumane. Kaboom! A tyrannical black-violet energy surged toward Zhao Feng. Divine Emissary Wu's fiendish demonic eye was a soul and will attack. It moved with incredible speed and instantly struck Zhao Feng's body. Zhao Feng felt a little dizzy, his soul invaded by evil energy, and evil thoughts began to rise in his mind. When a person truly developed an extremely terrifying evil thought, it was very difficult to control it with one's own will. But Zhao Feng was no ordinary person. Disappear, disappear. His powerful will allowed him to maintain some clarity of mind and circulate his realization energy. A strange, dreamy hue began to spread through his lightning soul body. Gradually, the evil thoughts in Zhao Feng's mind began to fade. In the distance, Seeing that his attack had succeeded, Divine Emissary Wu rapidly approached Zhao Feng. Suddenly, Zhao Feng opened his cold eyes and stared at Divine Emissary Wu. Blazing Soul Devil Eye. A dark red eye intent immediately shot toward Divine Emissary Wu. The Blazing Soul Devil Eye could penetrate through the flaws in a person's mind and magnify them, affecting their senses and making them see all sorts of fearful scenes. Divine Emissary Wu was extremely experienced and immediately recognized the type of eye bloodline technique. He immediately fortified his mind and resisted the invasion of this energy. Moreover, his soul and divine body were one, so he was extremely resistant to this energy. But no matter how perfect a defense was, under the power of come true, a small gap could be opened up. Circulating the power of realization dream, Zhao Feng sent a sliver of eye intent into Divine Emissary Wu's body. Divine Emissary Wu's body immediately trembled, and he began to exude a chaotic demonic Tao energy. The demon god race was an extremely crazy race with enormous desires. Just a tiny bit of Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique could greatly affect Divine Emissary Wu, disturbing his mind and mind. Zhao Feng used this chance to fiercely attack Divine Emissary Wu. Boom! Bang! He gripped the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword and madly slashed at Divine Emissary Wu. Divine Emissary Wu's mind and senses were confused, making it difficult for him to accurately counterattack. Boom! Bang! Crash! Attacks rained down on Divine Emissary Wu, primal chaos and tribulation lightning energy constantly assailing him. Divine Emissary Wu's bloodline energy was gradually weakening, and the effect of Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique had already faded. But at this moment, Divine Emissary Wu knew that he was no match for Zhao Feng. Luish! Divine Emissary Wu immediately retreated. Divine Emissary Wu's defeat caused the members of the Life Sacred Land to cheer. The morale of the Life Sacred Land soared while the experts of the heaven-defying faction were stunned. They found it rather hard to believe that Divine Emissary Wu had lost to a peak second heaven. This old scoundrel is rather smart. Zhao Feng did not pursue. Divine Emissary Wu was still in his demon god race form. His defenses were extremely formidable and difficult to kill. If Divine Emissary Wu lost his mind in rage and decided to fight to the death with Zhao Feng until his demon god race bloodline ran out, Zhao Feng would definitely do his utmost to kill him. After a series of battles, Zhao Feng decided to temporarily withdraw from the battlefield. The heaven-defying faction definitely has some unfathomable trump card. Zhao Feng remained calm. Otherwise, the heaven-defying faction would never have so easily attacked a sacred land presided over by a god. Haha, young friend Zhao, you're truly a peerless hero. God King Radiant Peak happily laughed. He had originally believed that as long as Zhao Feng could hold down Divine Emissary Wu, the heaven-defying faction would be able to free up 2 third heaven god lords and gradually reverse the situation. But to his surprise, Zhao Feng had not only succeeded, but had even defeated Divine Emissary Wu. This caused the morale of the sacred land to explode, reversing their previous weakness and giving them a slight advantage. As the battle continued, this advantage would only continue to grow. Zhao Feng stood on the side and began to recover from the mental exhaustion. The battle would not end like this. He needed to maintain his peak condition at all times. Outside the Life Sacred Land, fierce battles raged on all sides. The Life Sacred Land had already pushed back the heaven-defying faction for 10,000 li. A sacred land truly is a sacred land. The Heaven Lord proudly stood in the sky and suddenly spoke. The Life God said nothing. At the very least, she did not believe that the battle would end so easily. The Life Sacred Land has helpers, and we also have many allies. They've been impatient to join the battle for a long time now. The Heaven Lord heartily laughed. These words caused the Life God and God King Radiant Peak to turn grim. The heaven-defying faction actually had allies? This truly was bad news. Buzz. BZZ. Space law rippled in the air, causing the world to twist. Gradually, a few figures appeared from within it. The leader was a black-robed elder, his pitch-black hair like a waterfall, his eyes cold and sinister. A supreme energy that could shake the heavens spread out, causing the entire battlefield to tremble. God King. The God Lords on the battlefield blurted out in shock. It was finally the turn of the God Kings to take the field. Isn't this person the illusion god, Sacred Lands, God King Nethercloud? God King Radiant Peaks, eyes froze. God King Nethercloud was a God King expert of the Chixing Zone, Sacred Land. He was extremely famous, and God King Radiant Peak had met him several times. The members behind God King Nethercloud were almost all God Lords of the Illusion God Race bloodline. Illusion God Sacred Land, God King Nethercloud? Zhao Feng was taken aback. Wasn't it said that the heaven-defying faction had conquered the Illusion God Sacred Land? It seemed like things were not as simple as they seemed. At this moment, the Life Sovereign's brow furrowed slightly. The enemies that had just appeared included God King Nethercloud and a small number of the upper echelon members of the Illusion God Sacred Land. If this faction entered the battle, the advantage that the Life Sacred Land had just established would instantly vanish. It's not over yet, haha. The Heaven Lord's voice rang out once more. Swish! Another spatial passage appeared in the air. An illusory figure dashed out from within and instantly grew in size, as if it had turned into a giant mountain. This massive figure was pitch black, its body like that of a Qilin. Its body was covered in many evil images. On its neck, there were 9 ferocious beast heads with many deep purple eyes that emitted an evil light that could take one's soul away. Ruer. The 9 heads of this strange, ancient beast opened their mouths and let out roars that seemed to come from the underworld. The 9 heads were abnormally agile, and their violet eyes stared at various parts of the battlefield, exuding a dreadful energy. Chapter 1534. The arrival of the illusory god race's godly monarch and the ferocious and terrifying ancient beast immediately shocked the entire battlefield. Even God King Radiant Peak and the Life God furrowed their brows. Could this ancient beast be the nightmare beast king suppressed in the illusion god Sacred Land? As God King Radiant Peak guessed at this ancient beast's origins, he became even more uneasy. One God King Radiant Peak was hard enough to deal with, and now that the Nightmare Beast King was here, it would be even harder to deal with. In terms of Dream Dao abilities, the Nightmare Beast King definitely surpassed the Illusion God race in this aspect. However, wasn't this Nightmare Beast King sealed in the Illusion God Holy Land because it refused to submit? Could it be that it had been tamed now? The Nightmare Beast King and God King Nethercloud have probably been controlled. A glimmer of light flashed through the Life Sovereign's eyes. That's right. Zhao Feng's left, I was also focused on God King, Nethercloud's group, and the Nightmare Beast King. He could see that these people, including the Nightmare Beast King, had strange soul marks as well as solar ray formations within their bodies. They had probably been controlled by the heaven-defying faction, and had no choice but to do as the heaven-defying faction said. But the Heaven Lord and the Left Protector showed no signs of abnormality. In other words, the other experts hiding in the heaven-defying faction's divine kingdom were controlling everything. Chill. With a sorrowful sigh, God King Nethercloud flashed into the battlefield. The other members of the Illusion God tribe also attacked immediately. So. Seeing this, the members of the Holy Lands immediately retreated. Not even a third Heaven God Lord would dare to recklessly fight against the God King. Boom! A powerful wave of divine power came crashing down. The ground collapsed, and thousands of people died in an instant. Everything within it vanished into thin air. When a God Monarch attacked, the members of the Sacred Land could not resist at all. They could only be slaughtered. Lord Juggernaut, we can only return to defend now. God King Radiant Peak grimaced and asked the Life God for instructions. The sudden appearance of the Illusion God race God King and the Nightmare Beast King was already beyond the scope of the Sacred Land's ability to deal with. Unless God King Radiant Peak or the Life God took action, they would not be able to fight back. "Don't worry, a friend of mine is rushing over," the Life Sovereign said calmly. Unless absolutely necessary, the Life Sacred Land would never retreat and defend. God King Radiant Peak rejoiced. Anyone who could be called a friend of the Life God could not be too weak. Shio! A green spot of light shot out of the Life God's forehead and floated to the core of the Tree of Life. There were 18 formation masters controlling the sacred ground's grand formation together. The green speck of light released by the Life God entered the mind of one of the formation masters. "There are outsiders entering the Holy Land at these coordinates. Let them in." The 18 formation masters shared this information and started to operate the formation. Wang, Shua. Suddenly, a deep spatial passage appeared in the Holy Land, and a golden figure leaped out from it. Taking a closer look, this person was dressed in a golden kasaya that exuded a dazzling golden Buddhist radiance that seemed to be able to dispel all evil. Master Nyowu. God King Radiant Peak recognized this person. Grandmaster Incomparable was a God King expert from a Buddhist holy land in the southern part of the ancient desolate realm of gods. Back then, Grandmaster Limitless was pursued by a godly king of the demonic Tao. The two of them battled for 100 days before the godly king of the demonic Tao chose to perish together with Grandmaster Limitless. However, Grandmaster Emptiness was more skilled, and he managed to preserve a wisp of his soul essence. Afterwards, under the Life God's treatment, he recovered from his injuries in less than 100 years. Master Liao Wu looked at the battlefield outside the sacred ground and revealed a look of pity. "Please, Nihility, make your move." The Life God's warm voice resounded. "This is what this lowly monk should do." Master Liao Wu's expression was fearless as he charged out. BZZ. Boom, boom. Buddhist light erupted outside the sacred land, and a strange and profound golden Buddhist character rumbled toward God King Nethercloud. God King Nethercloud was no pushover. His body transformed into a 5-colored cloud as he battled with Master Nyowu. The battle between two God Kings shook the universe. The nearby people began to retreat, not daring to approach the God King battlefield. Fortunately, Grandmaster Nyowu made it in time. God King Radiant Peak broke out in a cold sweat. If Grandmaster Nyowu had not come, he would have been the only one left. However, the Heaven Lord still had an unfathomable protector who had yet to take action. If this God King suddenly intervened while God King Radiant Peak and God King Nethercloud were fighting, the situation would be very bad. But this Nightmare Beast King, one of the upper echelon members of the Sacred Land, had an extremely grim expression. God King Nethercloud had been held down by Grandmaster Nyowu, but what about the Nightmare Beast King? The Nightmare Beast King's cultivation was extremely close to that of a God King, and its Dream Dao abilities were extremely powerful area of effect attacks. On the battlefield, roar. The Nightmare Beast King's 9 heads savagely roared and unleashed a dark halo of light. This dark halo was like a curtain of darkness that engulfed the world. Anyone who was affected by this dark halo would have their mind thrown into chaos, and their ability to control their body would be affected. Those with even lower cultivations would freeze and struggle on their faces. After a few moments, they calmed down and dropped to the ground, clearly caught in a nightmare. What terrifying power! Twilight Valley was alarmed. The Nightmare Beast King's power covered almost half the battlefield, but even so, it was still extremely powerful. However, the Nightmare Beast King's power did not distinguish between friend and foe. Even the members of the Heaven-defying faction were affected. However, the Nightmare Beast King's attack range was mostly on the Life Sacred Land side, causing more people to be affected. What do we do? God King Radiant Peak was worried. Other than him and the Life God, no one else in the Sacred Land could deal with the Nightmare Beast King. "Let me," Zhao Feng suddenly said. "Zhao Feng, don't act recklessly. This Nightmare Beast King is close to the God King level. much stronger than the demon god race expert from before, and its divine abilities are impossible to defend against. God King Radiant Peak immediately said. Zhao Feng was also an important fighting force of the life sacred land at this time. He cannot be easily lost. Relax. I won't clash with it directly. With these words, Zhao Feng charged forward. Meow meow. On Zhao Feng's shoulder, the little thieving cat looked at the Nightmare Beast King and gestured to Zhao Feng. This Nightmare Beast King had been sealed by the illusion god's sacred land for countless years and was now under the control of the heaven-defying faction. It was also fighting against the seal and array binding its body. Thuish. Zhao Feng arrived on the battlefield and activated his god's spiritual eye, unleashing a cold blue mist of light. This mist exuded a cold and serene soul energy that engulfed the battlefield. In a flash, the souls of those shrouded in this blue mist returned to normal. As for those who had fallen into the dreamland, they were also awakened by this ice-cold soul aura. Those of the heaven-defying faction who had been affected by the Nightmare Beast King had no one to help them. In this way, the Nightmare Beast King did not affect the life-sacred land much, but the heaven-defying faction. This brat, the protector, grunted. Don't be in such a rush. The Heaven Lord calmly smiled. On the battlefield, roar. The 9 heads of the Nightmare Beast King raised their heads to the sky and roared, exuding a soul energy that could shake the world. The deep purple eyes on the 9 heads immediately emitted a breathtaking, illusory halo. The deep purple, illusory halo gradually interweaved into 9 balls of light mist bursting out. This is the Nightmare Beast King's divine ability, the Thousand Devil Nightmare. Once caught in it, anyone of the same level will have no chance of escaping. They will forever be trapped in this dreadful nightmare, and everything that happens in their nightmares will even affect them in reality. On the Sacred Land side, God King Radiant Peak grimaced. This divine ability of the Nightmare Beast King was a manifestation of dream and reality. The effects of a dream would be reflected in reality. Swoosh, swoosh. This ball of dark violet mist traveled at a speed that ordinary people would find difficult to react to. In a certain part of the battlefield, a second heaven god lord sensed the approach of this purple mist and immediately retreated. But this mist followed him, making it impossible for him to escape. Swish! This dark purple mist entered the mind of this second heaven god lord. In a flash, this second heaven god lord was plunged into the Thousand Devil Nightmare. In reality, he stood in a daze. At the same time, several other balls of mist landed on the Sacred Land's battlefield, each of them plunging 1 or more members into the Thousand Devil Nightmare. It's so similar to my intrusive dream. Perhaps I can break this Thousand Devil Nightmare. Zhao Feng's expression flickered as he activated his left eye. As he circulated his dream origin energy, Zhao Feng's left eye immediately began to exude a dazzling halo of dreamy light, creating an inexplicable attractive force. Wherever Zhao Feng's eye reached, the minds of all living beings would be pulled in by Zhao Feng's left eye. Enemies on the same level as Zhao Feng's soul intent were essentially incapable of resisting this intrusive dream ability. But at this moment, Zhao Feng's intrusive dream had a truly large range, encompassing tens of thousands, perhaps even more than 100,000 people. This caused the attractive force of intrusive dream to lessen. Ordinary first and second heaven god lords would be able to resist it as long as they didn't look at Zhao Feng's left eye. Of course, Zhao Feng was not doing this to torture and kill low-level experts, but to save the god lords of his side who were trapped in the Thousand Devil Nightmare. After all, the arrival of the illusion god race was gradually putting the life sacred land in a disadvantageous position. If these god lords were to lose their fighting power, the life sacred land would suffer a massive blow. Intrusive dream. Zhao Feng's left eye first locked onto some of the god lords who had fallen into the Thousand Devil Nightmare. These people were already in the dream dimension and had no way to resist. They were instantly pulled into the dream dimension that Zhao Feng had created. Of course, besides these people, There were also some people who were powerless to resist and were pulled into the dream dimension by Zhao Feng. There were several hundred people in the dream dimension. Zhao Feng immediately killed all the enemies and drove his own people away. In the end, only 4 people were left in the Thousand Devil Nightmare. These people stood in a daze, their bodies trembling as fear, panic, or sorrow appeared on their faces. "Ha! In this place, everything is up to me." Zhao Feng faintly smiled. Although these people were still in the Thousand Devil Nightmare, they were also in Zhao Feng's dream dimension, essentially a dream within a dream. "Awaken," Zhao Feng called out. Thus, all of this was realized. The 4 people in Zhao Feng's dream dimension woke up from the nightmare. What's going on? The 4 of them were perplexed and fearful. The nightmares they had just experienced seemed real. Zhao Feng couldn't be bothered to explain and drove these people out of the dream dimension. In the outside world, several hundred enemy members suddenly self-detonated. The god lords of the sacred land who had fallen into the Thousand Devil Nightmare suddenly woke up. This sight attracted the attention of many people, including the upper echelon members of the enemy faction. This is Dream Dao energy. I didn't think that Zhao Feng's Dream Dao energy could fight against the Nightmare Beast King. God King Radiant Peak was rather taken aback. In the distance, the 9 heads of the Nightmare Beast King also stared at Zhao Feng in confusion and hostility. Chapter 1535. After rescuing some of the god lords of the sacred land trapped in the Thousand Devil Nightmare, Zhao Feng immediately went to the other side. Intrusive Dream was used once more, and nearly 1,000 people were pulled into Zhao Feng's dream dimension. Zhao Feng killed the enemy members and drove the conscious members of his side out of the dream dimension. In the end, only the people trapped in the Thousand Devil Nightmare remained. Shatter Dream. Zhao Feng circulated his thought power, instantly shattering the nightmare and rescuing them. That nightmare just now, what was going on? Several people woke up, their bodies drenched in cold sweat and trembling. The horrifying scenes they had experienced before were like real, imprisoning them and torturing their minds. By driving these people out of the dream dimension, the Nightmare Beast King's powerful ability was completely nullified. I didn't think that Zhao Feng would have such powerful Dream Dao energy. God King Radiant Peak was rather excited. This might be the domain that his 9th god, I specializes in. The life god's ethereal voice resounded. She had been paying attention to Zhao Feng's 9th god, I this entire time, so she had a rough idea of the dream god I's abilities. Quite a few more people are coming. The life god pointed out with her slender finger, creating a green dot of light that floated to the 18 array masters in the life tree. A little while later, these array masters once more activated the teleportation channel. Swoosh, swoosh, several figures flew out, including 3 third heaven god lords and 4 second heaven god lords. "Everyone, please go," the life god gently said. The people who had just arrived quickly entered the battlefield. Good. The situation is gradually stabilizing. Victory is ours. God King Radiant Peak rejoiced. The life sacred land had built many relationships, and countless people had been cured of illness and heavy injuries by the sacred land. As time passed, the life sacred land would only get stronger and stronger. When that time came, no matter how many tricks the heaven-defying faction had, it would still lose. The flames of war soared around the life sacred land. After dispelling the Nightmare Beast King's ability, Zhao Feng prepared to enter the battlefield and kill the enemy experts. But at this moment, Zhao Feng sensed a powerful hostility. Nightmare Beast King. Zhao Feng was shocked. In the distance, the Nightmare Beast King's 9 heads were all staring at him. Each head had a deep purple eye that emitted a frightening cold light. "Kid, your Dream Dao ability is not bad." The Nightmare Beast King's 9 heads emitted a sinister howl. 9 different voices overlapped with each other, sending chills down one's spine and making one's hair stand on end. "Eat him and steal his power. Let him experience the most terrifying nightmare in this world." The heads started to talk among themselves. Xiao. Suddenly, the mountain-like nightmare beast king turned into a dark ray of light that flashed through the world and attacked Xiaofeng. Not good. Xiaofeng was slightly shocked and immediately retreated. The nightmare beast king's cultivation level was close to that of a god king. Even if it didn't use its dream path abilities, it was still extremely powerful. Boom! The nightmare beast king flew forwards, shattering Zhao Feng's afterimage. At the same time, a dark purple mist emitted from its body and spread across the battlefield. This dark purple fog was the nightmare fog that the nightmare beast king emitted. Anyone that approached the nightmare beast king would be affected by this fog. If one were to stay within this nightmare fog for a long period of time, then even someone with a formidable soul and would find it difficult to escape. Scram! As Zhao Feng retreated, he swung his arm and threw out an enormous primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. Boom! The nightmare beast king's body was incomparably large. It was unable to dodge and was pierced by the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. But at this moment, the nightmare beast king's body emitted a dark halo. In this instant, the space within 100,000 li was permeated by this strange power. In this space, the nightmare beast king's aura underwent a shocking change. The 9 heads' necks suddenly lengthened and devoured the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword on its body. This is the power of the dream Tao. Zhao Feng's eyes flashed slightly. Just now, the nightmare beast king had fused its dream dimension with the surrounding space. In the dream dimension, its strength had been strengthened, allowing it to easily shatter the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword and even eat it without much effect. Brad. The nightmare beast king's 9 heads raised their heads to the sky and roared, exuding a soul Tao energy that could shake the world. The deep purple eyes on the 9 heads immediately emitted a breathtaking, illusory halo. The deep purple illusory halo gradually interweaved into 9 balls of light mist and shot out. This time, the nightmare beast king used the divine ability Thousand Devil Nightmare once more. Moreover, the target of these 9 balls of mist was Zhao Feng. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 9 balls of mist flew through the air toward Zhao Feng. Not good. Zhao Feng's in bad shape. In the sacred land, God King Radiant Peak's expression tightened. The Nightmare Beast King's dream Tao abilities were something that even people of the same level feared. If the 9,000 devil nightmares struck one person at the same time, not even Zhao Feng, who was skilled in the dream Tao, would be able to do anything. After all, Zhao Feng's cultivation and soul intent were still rather lacking compared to the Nightmare Beast King's. Hurry and provide reinforcements, God King Radiant Peak ordered. In the distance, the 9 balls of mist were flying toward him. Zhao Feng's expression was extremely grave. He didn't know if his intrusive dream could block this attack. But if it failed, he would fall into the 1,000 devil nightmare and be at the mercy of the enemy. Thus, Zhao Feng did not use intrusive dream to gamble on whether he could block it or not. Dreamification. Zhao Feng's left eye flashed with dreamy light as it began to unleash layers of dreamy mist. In a flash, the area for more than 100,000 li around Zhao Feng was covered in dreamy colors. His thought power gathered in front of him. The 9 balls of dark purple illusory mist were immediately affected by a strange power, and their speed and power were reduced. Extinguish. Zhao Feng circulated his thought power. Whoosh. The purple mist at the very front began to shatter from head to toe. Soon after, this mysterious and irresistible power enveloped the second 1,000 devil nightmare. Whoosh! The second ball of mist burst like a bubble. In the distance, the Nightmare Beast King's 9 heads were all stunned by this sight. It had never imagined that a human with a lower cultivation would be able to destroy its 1,000 devil nightmares. Just what sort of power was this? Gradually, the 3rd and 4,000 devil nightmares were destroyed by Zhao Feng. But at this moment, the remaining 5 were already in front of Zhao Feng. After all, while Zhao Feng was using dreamification, These attacks were still approaching Zhao Feng. There was no time to dodge. Dream dimension projection. Zhao Feng's left eye began to turn. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that the Nightmare Beast King had released its dream dimension and fused it with the world, using it to increase its strength and neutralize the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword. If the Nightmare Beast King could do it, so could he. Bzzz. A dreamy circle of light began to spread with Zhao Feng at the center. A strange scene gradually appeared in the world. At this moment, Zhao Feng's dream dimension covered an area of tens of thousands of li. The scene in the dimension was that of the spiritual race's buildings. This scene was rather strange. The spiritual race's territory had suddenly appeared in the center of the sacred land's battlefield. Success. Zhao Feng's face lit up with joy. Previously, the dream dimension only existed in his consciousness, and once Zhao Feng's consciousness entered the dream dimension, his main body would be unable to use much of its power, essentially entering a weakened state. But now that Zhao Feng had released his dream dimension into the surrounding space, things were different. Bzzz. The fifth ball of mist entered Zhao Feng's dream dimension. Extinguish for me. Zhao Feng bellowed, his soul intent surging forward. Zhao Feng's soul intent was originally only at the peak second heaven, but the dream dimension boosted it to the third heaven. Boom! Bang! Moreover, Zhao Feng's soul intent contained tribulation lightning energy, making it extremely destructive. The moment he charged out, he shattered the dark purple mist. Primal chaos lightning sword. Zhao Feng's left eye unleashed a dark bolt of lightning. The bolt of lightning pierced through the three balls of mist and pulverized them. But the moment the primal chaos lightning sword left the dream dimension, its power immediately weakened and returned to normal. Swoosh, swoosh. Two figures suddenly appeared near Zhao Feng. They were the third heaven god lords of the sacred land who had been fighting with divine emissary Wu. They had been preparing to reinforce Zhao Feng. Once Zhao Feng fell into the Thousand Devil Nightmare, they would at least have to move him out of the battlefield. But by the time they arrived, Zhao Feng had basically resolved the crisis. What? That human? The Nightmare Beast King's 9 heads clenched their jaws, an extremely unwilling expression on their faces. Two left. Zhao Feng faintly smiled, in no rush to destroy these 2,000 devil nightmares. In fact, he didn't even do anything, allowing the two balls of mist to strike him. Zhao Feng was confident that he would be fine in this situation. Moreover, he wanted to comprehend the dreamed-out energy of the Nightmare Beast King, and he could also use these 2,000 devil nightmares to temper his soul intent. This kid, he really isn't afraid of anything. The two-third heaven elders broke out in a cold sweat on Zhao Feng's behalf, but they were confident that Zhao Feng would be fine. The Nightmare Beast King stared at Zhao Feng and the two-third heaven elders, but it didn't attack for now. It realized that it couldn't do anything to this youth, and besides, Zhao Feng had two-third heaven experts guarding him. Good. The Nightmare Beast King has been held down. God King Radiant Peak clapped his hands in praise. The Nightmare Beast King was a thorny existence. Without an expert skilled in the Soul Tao or the Dream Tao, it would be difficult to deal with. On the other side, Heaven Lord, let me go. The left protector volunteered. The Heaven Lord nodded in agreement. Booish. The left protector flew forward. At the same time, God King Radiant Peak and the Life God focused their gazes. Their intuition told them that this elder of the heaven-defying faction was not simple, that he was a dangerous individual. Kaboom! The left protector's body suddenly began to exude an ancient and dark energy. I'll let you experience this old man's shaman arts. The left protector extended his hands, which began to exude countless black rays of light that exuded a chilling and sinister energy. Chapter 1536. A god lord suddenly sensed a cold and silver energy penetrate into his flesh. In the dream dimension, Zhao Feng was observing the blood spirit shaman Gu art member. Zhao Feng pushed his left eye to its limits. Behind the left protector, countless pitch-black rays of light surged and churned. It was eerie and horrifying. One could faintly see a figure wearing a pitch-black cloak with a pitch-black face. Its wrinkled and withered claws extended forward ferociously. The demon Vine's vitality was abnormally vigorous and bloodthirsty, but it was surrounded by white bones and a deathly aura. The life god warned. In a few seconds, several hundred dark green vines had sprouted out, wreaking havoc and obliterating all living beings. The battle between two god kings was truly dreadful. Zhao Feng was in the dream dimension, so when the dark red threads of blood drifted in, he would use the dream dimension and the power of realization to immediately kill them. Many people on the battlefield sensed that something was wrong, but they didn't know how to guard against it. In a flash, the insect's life was drained, and it turned into a shriveled skin that fell to the ground. Though-ish, God King Radiant Peak's palms began to glow with dark green light, condensing into a dazzling green dot of light. The left protector waved his hands, his 10 fingers wantonly drawing mysterious characters and diagrams in the air. God King Radiant Peak's face chilled. However, very few people had the skill Zhao Feng had. Circulating his life law, God King Radiant Peak condensed a dark green seed the size of a palm. Kaboom! In the life-sacred land, the life god, who had been silent for a long time, sighed, and then her majestic and slender body slowly stepped forward. Protector, is he going to take action? Bang! Whoosh! Of course, he had not forgotten that he had another goal. Even Zhao Feng's expression was slightly surprised, and he became somewhat entranced. Wherever the seed passed, all life would be plundered. At the same time, the dark green vines began to madly extend and thicken. It was clear that the heaven-defying faction protector had studied the shaman arts and curses of the ancient shaman race. If this went on, the situation would be extremely bad. However, the cursed words of death weren't completely helpless. For example, they could capture the other party alive or use low-level cultivators or spiritual pets to deal the final blow. God King Radiant Peak was stunned. The left protector's curse this time was focused on the soul, and it was extremely powerful. Restraining it would be extremely difficult. Ghost Fiend Death Curse. At this time, he was comprehending the 1,000 devil nightmares power of the Nightmare Beast King's Dream Dao. However, it was a bad thing to replenish too much at once. The first sign of being corroded by this technique was a decline in one's state. Opponents who were originally evenly matched would be at a disadvantage when they fought again. Rumble, suddenly, a dark red blood light seeped out from the layer of black light and scattered into the void, gradually disappearing without a trace. The power of dreams could target all things, and the power of the Thunder Tribulation was the bane of these evil ghosts. The left protector's deep and hoarse voice rang out. A dark gray fog of light was released from his palm. It looked like a hideous and disgusting creature. At this moment, Zhao Feng was alarmed by an ancient and sinister energy. A strange light flashed through the eyes of God King Radiant Peak and the Life God. In the distance, a rank 8 ancient god let out a miserable scream. Zhao Feng was inwardly stunned. Shaman art. This ancient god's body was withered and bleeding from every orifice. His mind had gone insane, and he was attacking anyone nearby, not distinguishing friend from foe. Cackrack. At this moment, in his dream dimension, Zhao Feng was struck by 2 dark purple mists. These dark red lights loved to devour vitality and bloodlines. The left protector's cold and sinister voice resounded. God King Radiant Peak's powerful divine sense was extremely sensitive to flesh and blood, so he naturally noticed what was going on. His eyes flashed with green light and exuded pure and majestic life energy. This race could be said to be the most ancient and mysterious of the 10,000 ancient races, and it was now almost extinct. Suddenly, the surface of the dark green vines began to dissolve into pus and rot. But in the dream dimension, Zhao Feng had been strengthened in all aspects, allowing him to resist the corrosion of this energy. Zhao Feng looked up at the distant sky. Thuish, buzz, bzz. On the battlefield, many members of the life sacred land suddenly began to feel strange. But last time, the left protector had only taken out his pseudo-ancestral artifact and unleashed a casual attack. The left protector extended his hands, and countless dark rays of light erupted from them, exuding a sinister energy that made one shiver in fear. Cackrack. Zhao Feng was taken aback. Those skilled in the life law can not only save lives, they can also take them. However, their various curses and sorcery were something that even the ancient race, the number one race in the ancient era, was wary of. These green dots of light contained enormous amounts of vitality, and the moment they entered a person's body, they would attract the dark red lights and be devoured. If the other party had set up the cursed words of death, not even the life god would be able to undo such a powerful medium. A moment later, he sensed his bodily functions rapidly decline, and even his blood began to wither. In the dream dimension, Zhao Feng wasn't very worried, but the other people on the battlefield who couldn't see these things would probably find it difficult to escape. Blood Spirit Shaman Guart. At this moment, gradually, Zhao Feng stabilized the situation and began to sense the power of the Thousand Devil Nightmare. 5 or 6 wraiths immediately extended their sharp claws and bloody mouths as they tried to eat away at Zhao Feng. He brought his palms together, and a dark green halo of light began to spread out. Gradually, countless dark red lines appeared in his vision. If he looked carefully, he would see that these dark red lines were like bloody worms. God King Radiant Peak's understanding of the life law and his fine control over it left him in admiration. What's going on? Hissus. This war should end. Inhumane to use such an evil shaman art. Zhao Feng couldn't help but nod. Gradually, Zhao Feng retracted the dream dimension. It was as if there were countless vengeful souls imprisoned within. They stretched out their white claws, clawed, roared, or stuck out their bloody tongues to twist. Moreover, the ghost fiend death curse could not only affect one's mind, but could also devour one's essence blood until one was driven to madness and death. One could say that this was a weaker version of the cursed words of death. The terrifying vines madly grew over the battlefield, and a few moments later, they had covered more than half of the battlefield, wreaking havoc like a monster. Swoosh, swoosh. Under the Protector's control, these dark red lines began to seek out their enemies. This feeling made Zhao Feng think of the cursed words of death. Screams rang out over the sacred land's battlefield. The left Protector coldly snorted. In a flash, the dark green vines madly writhed as if in extreme pain and began to wail. What a powerful curse! These evil spirits can even arouse the evil in one's heart and further invade it until it fuses into one's mind and follows them to the death. On the battlefield, the clash between the two great peak god kings was still continuing. The left Protector's expression darkened. He was extremely curious as to how God King Radiant Peak planned to resolve this move. The dark green vines moved with incredible speed, instantly wrapping around several dozen members of the heaven-defying faction. Powerful Dream Dao energy seeped into Zhao Feng's soul and released negative emotions that affected Zhao Feng's mind. The left Protector's face was savage, and he condensed a pitch-black ghost mist in front of him that let out shrill cries. Maintaining the dream dimension consumed a great deal of dream origin and thought energy. Moreover, Zhao Feng had used so many dream eye bloodline techniques earlier, which had consumed a great deal of his mind, so it was best to conserve as much as possible. Under God King Radiant Peak's control, these green motes of light drifted over to the sacred land side and entered the bodies of the blood spirit shaman Guart members. Thump! Origin of life. These ghosts screamed and began to scatter. These abnormally powerful evil spirits and wraiths filled the life sacred land's forces and invaded their souls. This massive red insect was drenched in blood, and the moment it appeared, it transformed into a streak of bloody light that shot toward a green-robed woman. At this moment, so that's how it is. These people were reduced to skeletons at a speed visible to the naked eye. Before they even hit the ground, the seeds began to germinate and rapidly grow. By the time they hit the ground, they had grown a dark green vine 100 feet long. At this moment, the rank 8 ancient god's body spasmed as a disgusting insect as thick as an arm burrowed out of his head. Countless specks of green light drifted down from the green motes of light and sprinkled over the world. Bzzz. Zhao Feng discovered that the dark red light that had invaded this ancient god's body was constantly devouring his essence blood and bloodline energy. And the more this ancient god used his bloodline energy, the faster the dark red light devoured. A dark green aurora shot down and pierced through the insect. God King Radiant Peak grunted. This sight made all the members on the battlefield feel their hairs stand on end and their hearts tremble in fear. These dark red insects moved with incredible speed. Ordinary ancient gods were simply incapable of dodging them. The most basic requirement was not to be careless in killing them. Many members of the sacred land were affected by the ghost fiend death curse and were in abnormal states, their fighting power plummeting. In the sky, the rotting effect quickly spread throughout the vines, turning the countless vines into a puddle of stinking sewage. Careful! Pitch-black light and ancient characters began to rapidly revolve in his palm. But even the experienced members of the sacred land were incapable of stopping the left protector's blood spirit shaman gu art. I'll let you experience this old man's shaman art. At the same time, this bloodline and vitality energy would remain in the victim's body and be slowly absorbed to heal their wounds and restore their condition. Every dark red bloodline that swallowed the green fluorescent dot immediately burst apart. The dark gray mist fell upon the dark green vines. Of course, God King Radiant Peak personally controlled the green motes of light to plunder away the life of the already extremely powerful blood spirit goo. Activating his left eye, Zhao Feng observed a nearby person. This person was only a rank 9 ancient god who had been afflicted by the blood spirit shaman gu art. At this moment, he had no choice but to intervene. When it came to shaman arts, one had to mention the second-ranked ancient shaman race. But at this moment, as expected of someone who can be called a sacred land, I'll send you a gift in return. The pitch-black mist suddenly exploded, releasing countless vengeful souls and malicious ghosts that charged into the battlefield and into the bodies of the sacred land members. Disappeared? What a terrifying shaman art! The green-robed woman trembled in fear, her face ghastly pale. But at this moment, Zhao Feng could truly sense the powerful and sinister aura of the protector. Curse of Decay. At the same time, Zhao Feng gradually withdrew the dream dimension while the Thousand Devil Nightmare grew stronger and stronger. This was also a form of tempering for Zhao Feng's mind. His soul intent had just reached the peak of the second heaven, and after this tempering, it had become much more stable. Without another word, Zhao Feng activated his left eye and unleashed a ball of primal chaos tribulation lightning flame. This was not his first time interacting with the left protector. Carefully sensing his surroundings, he realized that his body was being corroded by many inexplicable dark red lines of blood. The dark green seed swiftly flew into the rear of the heaven-defying faction. This dark green seed exuded powerful vitality, but for some reason, it made one feel a sense of dread. The blood spirit shaman gu art can corrode the essence and blood of a living being until it completely devours the person and produces a blood spirit goo. Zhao Feng's left eye observed the massive battlefield, and his heart trembled. Chapter 1537. This war, it's time to end it. In the life-sacred land, the life god, who had been silent for a long time, sighed, and then her majestic and slender body slowly stepped forward. The moment the life god entered the battlefield, the gloomy, brutal, and bloody battlefield instantly fell silent. An invisible energy spread out, ruling over the world. At this moment, The life god seemed to be the center of the world, exuding a dazzling and dazzling mist. On the life sacred land side, countless phantoms and wraiths trembled in fear as the effects of the curse weakened. Lord God, God King Radiant Peak, lowered his head in respect. This time, he was unable to resolve the left protector's ghost fiend death curse, so he had to rely on the life god. The life god. The left protector's body sank as he felt a little oppressed. As expected of a god, on the battlefield, Zhao Feng also stared at the life god. At this moment, she was noble, gorgeous, elegant, and proud. She had many of the virtues of a woman and the unswerving determination of a man. Her dazzling radiance attracted everyone's attention. Even the Nightmare Beast King quietly stood there, not daring to make a ruckus. The world seemed to prostrate itself beneath the life god's skirt, revolving around her. Bzzz. The life god's eyes suddenly began to turn, and boundless life energy rippled through them. The entire world was suffused with vitality. The somber atmosphere of the battlefield swept away, transforming the world into a vast forest. Under this intense life energy, all demonic souls and ghostly beings were pushed aside and suppressed. Cackrack. Those resentful souls let out shrill screams, and their figures gradually faded, disappearing without a trace. Erased with the power of will. God King Radiant Peak sighed in amazement. The will of a god was immensely powerful. If it wanted someone dead, that person would die. The life god was not very skilled in the soul, but she had still so easily resolved the ghost fiend death curse. I'll take your life. The life god's gaze immediately focused on the left protector. Bzzz. Her eyes glowed green and brimmed with boundless vitality. However, the left protector, who was being stared at by the life sovereign, felt an unprecedented sense of danger. It was as if he would perish here at the very next moment. If the life god wanted to take a life, it would be a simple matter. Hissus. All of a sudden, an invisible wave of sovereign power descended. But at this moment, a white-robed elder appeared in front of the left protector, the Heaven Lord. The Heaven Lord had blocked this life-stealing energy. Boom! The Heaven Lord's body suddenly erupted with a tyrannical divine might, exuding a layer of gold and silver divine light that clashed with the life god energy. The invisible clash between the two caused the surrounding space to distort and shatter. Bang! Bang! The two forces fiercely collided, creating a destructive and forbidden storm that disappeared without a trace. It seems you have fused with the bloodline power of the ancient race. The beautiful face of the life sovereign was calm. This was not out of her expectations. After all, she had seen so many powerful bloodlines of the myriad races. If the Heaven Lord dared to attack the life-sacred land, he naturally had formidable trump cards. Since the life dominus can't wait any longer, then let's start an all-out war. The Heaven Lord's lips perked. Rumble, the world behind him distorted, and several huge black shadows appeared. As the shadows grew clearer, they revealed themselves to be fully armored warships. At the top of each warship was a massive black gold cannon platform. Two members of the Heaven's legacy race sat cross-legged around each cannon platform, controlling this device. Destruction weapon. God King Radiant Peaks, eyes focused. The destruction weapons of the Heaven's legacy race were extremely powerful and had an extremely large range. In the past, the Heaven's legacy race had used these weapons to destroy major factions in other zones. Besides these weapons, these three warships also had other unknown devices that were brimming with intimidation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Figures flew out of the warships, all of them automatons and high-level death god guards. What a terrifying faction! Zhao Feng mentally sighed. The power the heaven-defying faction had displayed in this battle far surpassed Zhao Feng's expectations. It was no wonder that the members of the illusion god's sacred land had been captured without much resistance, and many of their upper echelon members had been controlled and enslaved. Of course, the sacred land presided over by God, was a symbol of the strongest faction in the ancient desolate realm of gods. Although the life god did not have much fighting power, she had a vast network of allies. With more and more experts coming to reinforce the life sacred land, the overall fighting power of the life sacred land was astonishing. Boom! Bang! Zhao Feng shattered the Thousand Devil Nightmare and left the dream dimension. This was the final moments of the war, but no one could say for sure who would win. Thus, Zhao Feng needed to do all he could to deal a heavy blow to the enemy and win the life sacred land's victory. At this moment, two invincible energies exploded in the sky. The sky seemed to shatter and turn into primal chaos. In one corner of the primal chaos stood a proud and peerless woman, shrouded in a layer of crystalline divine light. Behind the life god was the image of a massive god, embedded in the void, intimidating all things in the world. On the other side, the Heaven Lord had already transformed into an ancient god-devil, his entire body covered in gold and silver light, and exuding an ancient aura that looked down on all. All the living beings down below, with the bloodline of the 10,000 races, panted under the pressure of the ancient race bloodline. Boom! Bang! Crash! The two exchanged several dozen blows. Countless rays of green light and gold and silver light clashed, collided, and were annihilated. This is the Heaven Lord's power? Zhao Feng was startled. For the Heaven Lord to be able to fight against the life god meant that his strength was either extremely close to that of a god or had already reached the god level. Of course, the Heaven Lord primarily relied on his ancient race bloodline. Back then, Yu Heng's fusion rate with the ancient race bloodline had only reached 20 to 30%. At this time, Zhao Feng estimated that the Heaven Lord's ancient race bloodline fusion rate was at least 90%, perhaps even higher. While the life god and the Heaven Lord were fighting, the two factions were also fully engaged. In a flash, the three warships fired their black and gold cannons. Boom! Thwish! A massive pillar of golden light swept forward, so powerful that not even a third heaven god lord would dare to be careless. But the sacred land had long since prepared for this. Three crystalline shields of light suddenly formed in the sacred land's array and shot forward. Boom! Bang! Crash! The golden pillar of light slammed into the crystalline shields, unleashing a destructive wave of energy. In the chaos, a powerful energy bore down on Zhao Feng. Divine Emissary Wu. Zhao Feng looked into the distance. After his defeat, Divine Emissary Wu had returned to the heaven-defying faction Divine Kingdom to heal his injuries. Now that he had recovered 70 to 80%, he could not afford to be careless. Boom! Divine Emissary Wu immediately activated his demon god race bloodline, transforming into a black-violet demon that exuded a demonic Tao energy. Demonic Heaven Palm. Divine Emissary Wu gathered up tenebrous demonic energy and fired off a palm of black-violet light. His carelessness had allowed Zhao Feng to reverse the situation and obtain victory. This time, he was determined to wash away his shame. Primal Chaos Domain. Zhao Feng immediately unleashed vast amounts of primal chaos energy, transforming the world into a dark primal chaos domain. In the primal chaos domain, Zhao Feng's strength was boosted. Swish! Wielding the primal chaos ancestral artifact fragment, Zhao Feng formed a primal chaos tribulation lightning sword and slashed at it. Primal chaos lightning sword. Zhao Feng activated his left eye, forming a primal chaos tribulation lightning sword and unleashing it. Cackrack! Lightning flashed, piercing through the black-violet palm, and then combining with the primal chaos tribulation lightning sword, pulverizing it. The primal chaos lightning sword then shot toward Divine Emissary Wu. At this moment, Divine Emissary Wu took out a fragment of a white mirror and unleashed a powerful time energy. After his defeat, Divine Emissary Wu had borrowed this ancestral artifact fragment from his faction. A time law immediately began to spread, and Divine Emissary Wu rapidly moved to avoid Zhao Feng's primal chaos lightning sword. This old scoundrel really did come prepared. Zhao Feng's eyes dimmed. Zhao Feng's eye bloodline techniques were the most effective against the demon god race. And of his many eye bloodline techniques, the primal chaos lightning sword was the strongest. But the primal chaos lightning sword was not an instantaneous eye bloodline technique, so it was possible to dodge it. Divine Emissary Wu naturally realized this, so he borrowed the time ancestral artifact fragment to block the attack and strengthen himself so that he could dodge the primal chaos lightning sword. Zhao Feng's goal this entire time had been to fuse the tribulation lightning eye flame into the primal chaos sword, strengthen it, and then instantly unleash it. But he had never succeeded. The energy contained in an eye bloodline technique was too chaotic and difficult to control. But if I can strengthen it in every aspect in the dream realm, I might be able to succeed. Zhao Feng speculated. Haha, Zhao Feng, this time, I'll definitely tear you to pieces. Divine Emissary Wu heartily laughed as he flew at Zhao Feng, his fists and palms exuding boundless tenebrous demonic energy. Dream realm projection. Zhao Feng circulated his dream, origin, and thought energy to create a dream realm that he then extended. Gradually, the area for tens of thousands of li around Zhao Feng transformed into a dreamy scene. In the dream realm, Zhao Feng's strength was strengthened in every aspect, and he could even turn the impossible into the possible. Boom! Bang! Crash! The primal chaos domain fused with the dream realm, greatly boosting its power. The dreamy primal chaos energy surged, blocking all of Divine Emissary Wu's attacks. In the center of the primal chaos domain, Zhao Feng's left eye began to turn. Primal chaos energy, tribulation lightning energy, and dream origin energy fused together into a dark lightning sword that flashed with dazzling light. Go! Zhao Feng called out. The moment he unleashed this lightning sword, he knew that he had succeeded. Divine Emissary Wu, who was just preparing to break through his defenses, suddenly sensed danger. Crack! A dark lightning sword descended on his god-demon body, releasing all the power within it. A sword-shaped mark was left on Divine Emissary Wu's chest, and the area around him was scorched black. Moreover, the insides of Divine Emissary Wu's body had suffered even greater injuries. Tribulation lightning and primal chaos flame were wreaking havoc. How could this be? Divine Emissary Wu struggled in disbelief. This time, Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique was much stronger than the primal chaos lightning sword. Moreover, it was an instant attack that could not be dodged. All his preparations had been rendered useless. Success! Zhao Feng smiled faintly. The eye bloodline technique he used just now was far stronger than the primal chaos lightning sword. It was a fusion of the primal chaos sword, the tribulation lightning eye flame, and Zhao Feng's profound eye bloodline techniques. The primal chaos sword seal that had suddenly imprinted itself on Divine Emissary Wu's body was impossible to dodge and extremely powerful. Primal chaos lightning eye. Zhao Feng's left eye began to turn, and chaotic energy began to interweave within it, instantly condensing into a miniature primal chaos lightning sword with an eye flame revolving around it. Chapter 1538. Primal Chaos Lightning Eye. Zhao Feng's left eye began to turn, and chaotic energy began to interweave within it, instantly condensing into a miniature primal chaos lightning sword with an eye flame revolving around it. Divine Emissary Wu paled at this sight. Uish! He activated the time ancestral artifact fragment and began to move. One could only move quickly to deal with an instant fire eye bloodline technique to avoid being locked onto. Divine Emissary Wu rapidly approached Zhao Feng. If he attacked Zhao Feng, he would be struck by Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique. Thus, he decided to trade injury for injury and attack with all his strength. This way, even if he was struck by Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique, he would not suffer too much of a loss. Swish, swish, swish. With a wave of his hand, Zhao Feng condensed several dozen simple primal chaos tribulation lightning swords and threw them all at Divine Emissary Wu. Divine Emissary Wu activated his god-devil body. Violet light flowed over his body, and his body began to exude a faint black-violet halo. Boom! Bang! Crash! Divine Emissary Wu endured these attacks as he rapidly approached Zhao Feng. Demon God roar. Divine Emissary Wu's eyes erupted with demonic light. He gathered vast amounts of tenebrous fiend energy in his body and opened his mouth to spit it out. Kaboom! A massive black-violet shockwave swept toward Zhao Feng with mountain-toppling momentum. At the same time, Zhao Feng unleashed his primal chaos lightning eye. Cackrack! The primal chaos lightning eye was an instant fire eye bloodline technique, and it instantly descended upon Divine Emissary Wu's god-devil body. A sword-shaped mark was left behind on Divine Emissary Wu's body, and powerful energy surged out and began to wreak havoc within his god-devil body. Of course, Divine Emissary Wu had long ago expected this and was prepared to resist this energy. After using the primal chaos lightning eye, Zhao Feng's expression turned gloomy. He saw a black-violet shockwave engulfed him, imbued with tenebrous fiend energy. It turned everything in its path to ash, and if he was struck head-on, even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured. But now, Zhao Feng was in the dream dimension, and his overall strength had increased, allowing him to make the impossible possible. Chaos Lightning Vortex. Zhao Feng released a vast amount of chaos energy and tribulation lightning energy, forming a pitch-black lightning hole. BZZ. The purplish-black shockwave descended. The dream space around Zhao Feng trembled slightly, showing signs of instability. Looks like I've underestimated this strike. Zhao Feng's expression froze. Even his dream space was affected, as expected of the demon god race. Zhao Feng immediately shrunk the distance between them to the same size as the primal chaos lightning vortex. The two completely overlapped. At the same time, Zhao Feng circulated his dream Dao power to increase the defensive power of the primal chaos lightning vortex. Rumble. The purple-black shockwave engulfed Zhao Feng. In the center of the primal chaos lightning vortex, the tyrannical power of darkness continuously corroded it. The power of the primal chaos lightning vortex was slowly being stripped away. Zhao Feng activated his left eye, releasing a large amount of dream, origin, and thought power. Gradually, the primal chaos lightning vortex's defenses were strengthened while the attacks Zhao Feng faced were weakened. In the end, the purple-black shockwave passed. Zhao Feng's primal chaos lightning vortex remained, though it was slightly damaged. However, Zhao Feng was not injured at all. Plush. In the distance, Divine Emissary Wu saw this sight and vomited blood, a look of struggle on his face. He had put almost all his power into that attack just now, but it had still failed to kill Zhao Feng. It hadn't even affected him much. At this moment, Zhao Feng was sighing at the power of the Dream God Eye. He sensed that he was able to use more and more of the God Eye's power, stronger than before. Although this did not give Zhao Feng much of an offensive ability, it could change the very nature of many things, allowing Zhao Feng to always be able to avert danger. As he glanced at the life god in the sky, Zhao Feng imagined how powerful he would be once he fully used the power of the Dream God Eye. Now it's time to finish you off. Zhao Feng's eyes focused. Divine Emissary Wu was the strongest divine emissary, an invincible third heaven. Killing him would have a rather large effect on the battle. Primal Chaos Lightning Eye. Without another word, Zhao Feng condensed another Primal Chaos Tribulation Lightning Sword. Once Zhao Feng used this eye bloodline technique, he would be able to use it even if he wasn't in the dream dimension. Not good. Divine Emissary Wu's face twisted in fear. He had already taken 2 of Zhao Feng's Primal Chaos Lightning Eyes attacks. Even his God Devil body was severely injured. Booish! Divine Emissary Wu immediately turned to flee. But just as he began to move, an energy that made him tremble descended. Bang! Another primal chaos tribulation lightning sword descended, leaving a sword-shaped scar on his head. At the same time, an enormous wave of energy madly ravaged Divine Emissary Wu's god-devil body. Divine Emissary Wu's body spasmed, black smoke rising from his body. His god-devil body had shrunk, and his demonic Tao energy had weakened. Die! Zhao Feng immediately chased from behind. Thuish! Divine Emissary Wu trembled and immediately fled. Divine Emissary Wu had only used his demon god race bloodline twice in a very short period of time. As a result, the portion of his bloodline that he had just recovered was immediately used up. Now that the two sides were at war, Zhao Feng would not easily let Divine Emissary Wu go. Primal Chaos Lightning Sword. Zhao Feng dispelled the Primal Chaos Lightning Eye and used the Primal Chaos Lightning Sword. The Primal Chaos Lightning Eye was rather difficult to lock onto a rapidly moving foe, but the Primal Chaos Lightning Sword was somewhat useful. Thuish! Lightning flashed across the battlefield as a dark Primal Chaos Lightning Sword pierced through the air. Divine Emissary Wu sensed the terrifying ripples of energy behind him and immediately dodged. But he was in an ordinary state, and he was heavily injured, so he could not dodge in time. Plush! The Primal Chaos Lightning Sword pierced through Divine Emissary Wu's shoulder. Hiss, this brat! Divine Emissary Wu clenched his teeth and hissed, a look of hatred on his face. Only now did Divine Emissary Wu realize that his eagerness for revenge had caused him to make the wrong choice. Zhao Feng was the holder of the ninth god eye, and his god, I was in the process of awakening. Once Zhao Feng was able to use the full power of his god eye, he would become a god. But it was too late for him to understand this. Space-time distortion. Zhao Feng activated his many ancestral artifact fragments and fired off a silver ball of light that seemed both real and illusory. The moment this silver ball of light appeared, the surrounding space-time was thrown into chaos. Swish! The silver ball of light flashed through the air and appeared on the distant horizon. Divine Emissary Wu sensed this powerful space-time energy and immediately activated his demon god race bloodline. His body flashed with black and violet flames, and his speed doubled as he shifted to the left. At this moment, Kakrak, the silver ball of light appeared and exploded, causing space to shatter. Moreover, it released a spatial storm that swept out in all directions. Although Divine Emissary Wu had dodged this attack, he was affected by the space-time storm and slowed down. Zhao Feng used this chance to rapidly close the distance between him and Divine Emissary Wu. Swoosh swoosh. With a wave of his hand, several hundred simple primal chaos tribulation lightning swords shot forward, creating a net of lightning swords that engulfed Divine Emissary Wu. There's no way to dodge. Divine Emissary Wu grimaced, unable to think of a way to escape. Explode! Zhao Feng bellowed. The primal chaos tribulation lightning swords approaching Divine Emissary Wu exploded. Boom! Bang! Divine Emissary Wu was sent flying by the explosion, his god-devil body shrinking and covered in wounds. Primal Chaos Lock. Zhao Feng extended his hands, unleashing a torrent of primal chaos energy that revolved around Divine Emissary Wu. Die! Zhao Feng coldly shouted and brought his hands together. The boundless primal chaos energy immediately formed a black hole that engulfed Divine Emissary Wu. Primal chaos energy had a devouring attribute, and this combat skill was even more powerful. Trapped by the primal chaos lock, Divine Emissary Wu's energy began to drain away, and he lost the ability to resist. Zhao Feng, you will definitely die at the hands of the Heaven Lord. Divine Emissary Wu's venomous voice came from the primal chaos lock. I'm not sure about that. All I know is that you will die at my hands right now. Zhao Feng's expression darkened as he exerted more force. Boom! Bang! The primal chaos energy suddenly constricted and exploded, unleashing a chaotic storm of destruction. With this, the strongest of the divine emissaries, divine emissary Wu, was slain by Zhao Feng. The other experts naturally saw this. The remaining divine emissaries of the heaven-defying faction trembled as they viewed Zhao Feng as a taboo existence. The left protector coldly snorted, but he was currently occupied by God King Radiant Peak and had no time to worry about anything else. The left protector was skilled in shaman arts and curses, and his various abilities made others shiver in fear. However, the Life Sacred Land's God King Radiant Peak was skilled in the life law and the medicine Tao, so he could deal with the vast majority of shaman arts and curses. In terms of fighting power, the left protector was somewhat inferior to God King Radiant Peak. After killing divine emissary Wu, Zhao Feng rejoiced and began to wreak havoc on the battlefield. At this moment, broom, there was a deafening explosion in the distant sky that resounded through the clouds. The life god's eyes shot out a dazzling green light that shone on the Heaven Lord's body. Even the Heaven Lord with the ancient race God-Devil body found his divine body rapidly devoured. Bang! The Heaven Lord flew back several thousand feet before finally stabilizing himself. Good. Even if the Heaven Lord has the ancient race bloodline, he's still no match for the life god. Zhao Feng's eyes flashed. A god truly was a god. Even though the life god was not skilled in combat, she was still extremely powerful. But for some reason, Zhao Feng felt uneasy. Haha, as expected of one of the 8 great god eyes, this little bit of skill is still not enough to deal with you. The Heaven Lord, who had been pushed back, suddenly laughed. What other skills do you have? Take them all out. The life god's noble and beautiful face was brimming with pride. This you also knows a few eye bloodline techniques. I wish to exchange a few pointers with the life god eye. The Heaven Lord's lips curled into a wicked smile. The life god was taken aback. Asking a god eye to exchange eye bloodline techniques was undoubtedly the greatest joke in the world, but the life god felt inexplicably uneasy. The Heaven Lord had given her an extremely strange feeling before, and now that the Heaven Lord said these words, the life god suddenly thought of something. Eye bloodline techniques? Zhao Feng was also inexplicably shocked. He suddenly recalled that the Heaven Lord's mastery of eye bloodline techniques was also extremely profound and admirable. Make the desolate world tremble. Heavenly Tao God Eye. The Heaven Lord savagely laughed. His hands formed a seal, and several powerful bloodline energies surged out of the Heaven Lord's body. His eyes became pitch black, the eye of death. But a moment later, they transformed into the dazzling green eye of life, and then the eye of destiny. As each eye bloodline appeared, the energy on his body soared. Once the 8 great god eyes appeared one by one, the Heaven Lord's eyes returned to normal. But a crack suddenly appeared on the center of the Heaven Lord's brow, shooting out a beam of divine light so dark that it could pierce through the universe. Bzzz. The eye on the center of the Heaven Lord's brow opened with great difficulty. At the same time, the illusory images of 8 eyes gradually appeared behind him. These were clearly the eyes of the 8 god eye bloodlines. When the eye on the center of the Heaven Lord's brow fully opened, the dark vertical pupil shot out a dark and murky light. Everywhere the muddy and dim light passed, everything shattered and the heavens and the earth collapsed. Chapter 1539. This dark and turbid light soared into the clouds, piercing through the heavens and into the vast river of stars, competing with all things in the fan universe. In the distant void of the ancient desolate realm of gods, a man sat cross-legged, his entire body covered in golden red feather patterns. He radiated a scorching light that illuminated the vast fan universe. Suddenly, the man opened his fiery eyes and looked into the distance at a shocking divine light. A god-eye energy that I've never felt before. The man immediately stood up. Could it be the 9th god eye? He had not interacted with the ancient desolate realm of gods recently, so he had no news of Zhao Feng. Buzz. Bzzz. The light and heat around the man gradually retracted into his body. The entire dimension gradually dimmed. What's going on in the ancient, desolate realm of gods? The man's figure disappeared in a flash. At the same time, many god kings and even gods in the ancient, desolate realm of gods were stunned by this divine light. There was a forbidden stream of primal chaos between the ancient, desolate realm of gods and the outer dimension. If an ordinary god lord recklessly charged in, they would most likely die. Broom. At this moment, the primal chaos was in chaos. A bolt of golden-white lightning was clashing with pitch-black streams of death energy. Two figures stood in the center of the chaos. One of them was a man dressed in golden-white robes, tall and dignified. The other was a stooped elder, his pitch-black robes flapping in the wind. He wielded a pitch-black scythe that was shrouded in black flames and death energy. Who knew how many living beings it had slaughtered? Kiki, divine punishment. I will definitely become the first person to kill a god. The black-robed elder sinisterly laughed as he waved his scythe, unleashing a massive crescent of black flames. At the same time, the elder's eyes trembled, and terrifying death energy began to strengthen them. The power of divine punishment will definitely slay a sinner like you. The divine punishment god's expression was cold and dignified. Lightning shot out his eyes, forming a golden-white ball of lightning. Many of the great powers of the ancient, desolate realm of gods knew that of the 8 great god eyes, the divine punishment god, I, and the death god, I had an unresolvable grudge. The two had fought countless battles for countless years. But right at this moment, the divine punishment chief sovereign's gaze flickered as he stared off into the distance. The old man in black also stood up. His pitch-black eyes flashed with a strange light. An unprecedented god, eye energy. The elder's expression darkened. Based on what his death god eye sensed, this god eye's power was abnormal. It's not the 9th god eye. The divine punishment hegemon's face shook. Besides the 9th god eye, a new god eye energy had appeared. This is the end. The divine wrath chief sovereign glanced sideways at the black-clothed elder, then teleported away. At the same time, in the Sage faction's secret base, all of the wise ones sensed it and spat out a mouthful of blood under their deductions. That newly born god, eye energy, was not something they could casually calculate or divine. Within a hexagonal black tower in his heart, Yu Qianwu also entered a state of deduction. Moments later, his face turned deathly pale and a trace of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Could his plan be the supreme ancestral eye? The life sacred land. The moment the vertical eye on the Heaven Lord's forehead opened, the world trembled as if in fear. Everyone on the vast battlefield felt a peerless and invincible energy. At this moment, the Heaven Lord's aura had reached its limits, and he was the god of the world. All living beings prostrated and trembled beneath his feet. How could this be? A god eye? The life god was stunned. There were only 8 great god eyes in the world. The 9th god eye was only a legend until Zhao Feng appeared and turned the legend into reality. So how could another god eye have appeared? Moreover, they were both god eyes, but when the life god looked at the vertical eye on the Heaven Lord's forehead, her life god eye trembled. The vertical eye at the center of the Heaven Lord's eyebrows had 8 large pupils that exuded a frightening aura. God eye? Zhao Feng was flabbergasted. The legends also said that there were only 9 great god eyes. If the Heaven Lord's eye was a god eye, then what about his own eye? At the same time, Zhao Feng's dream god eye began to pulse. Within the god eye dimension, the dream origin was trembling restlessly. What's going on? Is that a god eye? That's impossible. Everyone on the battlefield had the same question in their minds. The left protector, on the other hand, gave the Heaven Lord a pious smile. Your Excellency's plan will definitely succeed. Life God, it seems like you're very suspicious of my heavenly Tao God eye. Will you not personally test it? The Heaven Lord warmly smiled. In truth, the heavenly Tao God I was only recently completed, and the Heaven Lord himself was still in the process of probing this energy. Life. Deprivation. The life god's eyes began to turn, flashing with dazzling green light as life god energy rippled through them. Delish! This invisible energy flew out and instantly surrounded the Heaven Lord. Heavenly Tao energy. The Heaven Lord's eyes exploded in excitement. Buzz. Bzzz. The Heavenly Tao eye on his forehead began to turn, its 8 pupils turning. A turbid gray-white divine light spun out and fused with the world. Reversal. The Heaven Lord roared, unleashing a strange god energy. A moment later, the life deprivation energy released by the life god suddenly changed direction and descended upon the life god. The life sovereign's expression turned to one of shock. Clearly, she had not expected such a thing to happen. The life god's skin immediately dimmed as she aged several years. The life god immediately controlled her eye of life to release powerful life energy to nourish her body. Gradually, she returned to normal, but the shock in her heart could not be calmed. Why did the god eye energy she released suddenly attack her? Even with her experience as the life god, she found it hard to explain. Her attack had never changed direction from beginning to end. It was as if it had changed the entire space, the world. Down below, Zhao Feng was also witnessing this, changing direction without warning. It's rather similar to the dream god eye's power, but there seems to be a fundamental difference. Zhao Feng began to think. The members of the life sacred land all felt their hearts tremble at this sight. Even if the Heaven Lord had a god eye, how could he immediately seize the advantage and cause the life god to suffer? Eat this. The Heaven Lord heartily laughed. The life god's expression turned grim. She still had no idea what the Heaven Lord's heavenly Tao was capable of, so she had to be careful. Boom! The Heaven Lord activated his god devil body and unleashed a golden silver bolt of light. Just one punch. The life god's expression darkened. She felt that it wasn't that simple. The Heaven Lord extended a hand, and the heavenly Tao god eye on his forehead began to turn. Fire! The Heaven Lord roared as he activated his heavenly Tao god eye. In a flash, the golden silver bolt of light began to burn with dazzling flames. Lightning! The scorching fireball exploded with boundless lightning energy. Gravity! The lightning fireball suddenly became incomparably heavy, causing the surrounding space to sink and tremble slightly. How could this be? The life god was stunned. The Heaven Lord's attack was constantly changing, and each time it changed, its power would rise by a level. While the life god was still in shock, the fireball suddenly arrived in front of her. There was no way to dodge. Bang! The world crumbled as a destructive storm swept through the world. Space tore apart as the entire world seemed to descend into the apocalypse. The battlefield down below seemed to pause as everyone stared at the sky, their bodies trembling. What power! Zhao Feng was stunned. The Heaven Lord's heavenly Tao god, I seemed to truly be able to control the world, wantonly altering the laws and laws of the world. Kaboom! As the storm scattered, the area in front of the life god in the center of the primal chaos void shattered. However, her god body had an endless vitality. It regenerated rapidly and recovered completely. Retreat! The life god immediately ordered. The more than 10,000 members of the sacred land felt their hearts tremble in disbelief. The life god had admitted defeat. Even if the Heaven Lord also had a god eye, how could he have made the life god concede with such an overwhelming advantage? But everyone could see the state of the battle. Retreat! God King Radiant Peak once more ordered. The entire battlefield immediately became restless as all the members of the life sacred land began to retreat toward the sacred land. Zhao Feng was no exception. In fact, he was the fastest, and he quickly retreated. The Heaven Lord was far too powerful. Not even the life god was a match for him. If the Heaven Lord wanted to capture him, not even the dream god would be enough to escape. Life god, you can reconsider submitting to me. The Heaven Lord heartily laughed, causing the entire world to quake. Submitting? Just what is your goal? Where did that come from? The life god's face was cold and gloomy. I presume that you've heard of the legend of the supreme ancestral eye, right? The Heaven Lord asked with a smile. It was said that when the 8 great god eyes gathered, they could summon the supreme ancestral eye, capable of transforming the world and becoming omnipotent. The life god nodded, her expression turning even more grave. She had obtained more and more information from the battle just now, and she was constantly speculating, but she found it hard to be certain. But as a god eye, perhaps you don't know that the supreme ancestral eye is called the heavenly Tao ancestral eye. The Heaven Lord added, the god eye on his forehead trembling, exuding a mystical energy that could rule over the world. What? The life god froze like she had been struck by a bolt of lightning. She was not shocked by the name of the heavenly Tao ancestral eye, but by the connection between the Heaven Lord's heavenly Tao god eye and the ancestral eye. Your mission ends here. Hand over the life god eye. The Heaven Lord's expression suddenly turned cold and harsh, tinged with intense desire. His plan was to fuse with the heavenly Tao ancestral eye and obtain the supreme energy of the world. But he did not have a god eye, nor was he a match for a god eye. He could not steal the other god eyes, much less gather the power of the 8 great god eyes. Thus, the Heaven Lord began with god eye descendants. After 10 billion years of research and countless experiments, he managed to fuse the 8 quasi-god eyes together. The fusion of the 8 quasi-god eyes could produce a weak energy that was close to the heavenly Tao ancestral eye. But this fusion was extremely unstable and could break apart at the slightest moment. The Heaven Lord estimated that it would take at least 100,000 years, perhaps even longer, to resolve this problem. This continued until the left protector brought back Zhao Feng's blood. As the 9th god eye, Zhao Feng's divine body, blood, and soul had all been nourished and transformed by the dream god eye. It was precisely this blood that allowed the 8 quasi-god eyes to perfectly fuse together, creating an eye that contained the weak energy of the heavenly Tao ancestral eye. Even the Heaven Lord himself was extremely surprised by this. Don't even think about it. The life god angrily roared, her beautiful face brimming with determination. She seemed ready to take him down with her. Now that she knew the true origins of the Heaven Lord's heavenly Tao god eye, the life god could not possibly hand it over to him. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.